It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, filling in for Alex. He is live in London, in Watford, England, just north of London, covering the Bilderberg conference that's starting today. Now, Alex and staff traveled there in the last couple of days, and we've got some updates from Alex about things that have been happening. It's been pretty eventful so far, at least for Alex. Even before the elite masters arrive, he's had their minions on him like a cheap suit, even though this is supposedly one of the best hotels in the world. They're kind of acting like it's faulty towers. They canceled his reservations at the last minute with no explanation, in violation of law, in violation of discrimination law against political beliefs. And then they go there to eat yesterday before the conferences started today, and he was thrown out by security. They wouldn't even let him pay his bill for what he'd had so far. So we've got some video updates of that. Alex is going to be here live later on during the show. It's going to be very interesting. And there is a lot of news about Bilderberg. Michael Savage talked about it on his show. And we've got all of this information at Infowars.com/B, as in Bilderberg. You can follow all the information there as it's breaking, not just what we're covering, but what other people are saying about it as well. Now, before we start, I've got a news item here that was just given to me at the last minute from Chris Jordan, and it's going to be our trivia question of the day here. We've got the article as a deadline looms for a suspect to decrypt his laptop or go directly to jail. Now, this is coming out of Milwaukee, and we've got a judge that is ordering this fellow to decrypt the only existing copies of incriminating files. Now, are you required to do that? Think about that for just a second. Listen. Okay, your time is up. Do your rights really change based on the technology, based on circumstances? Does that negate the fact that you've got Fourth Amendment rights because you're not writing on paper, but you're writing on a computer? I don't think so. Let's look at what the Fourth Amendment says. It says that you're to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects. It's pretty comprehensive, don't you think? I mean, there's not really any room for wiggle, although we look at how our government is violating that in every aspect. In your person, have you traveled lately? Have you flown lately? Of course, it's going to be all kinds of travel because it's the Transportation Security Agency. It's not just the Airport Security Agency. They don't believe you have a right to be secure in your person. They deny your Fourth Amendment rights every day to everybody that's traveling. How about your houses? Look at what just happened in the Boston Marathon bombing, where they're breaking into people's houses without search warrants, demanding that they come in, pointing guns at people, pulling them out at gunpoint. What about your computers like this? Should you have to self-incriminate yourself? Well, obviously the IRS has operated for decades on the principle of self-incrimination. That's what your income tax form basically is. You sign this piece of paper saying that everything that I have just told you about myself in detail is true, and if you find anything in there that is not true, you can send me to jail. That's one of the problems that a lot of people have with complying with the IRS system, and we've got some information about the IRS system. Ted Cruz is calling to get rid of the income tax, and I'm all for that. I remember 20 years ago in the Libertarian Party, we were calling for the abolition of the income tax and the IRS, and people said we were crazy. But things change, don't they? And hopefully for the better. Maybe with all of these scandals, maybe we've gone so far that people are ready to hear the truth about the IRS, the truth about self-incrimination, the truth about our corrupt tax system, where the largest corporations, those who are going to Bilderberg, don't pay any taxes, but you, the little people, pay them all. And just enough to keep the interest payments going to our central bank. We'll be right back with more information about Bilderberg, live updates from Alex Jones. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and as I said before the break, we're going to be having information from Alex Jones. He's going to be joining us later in the show. He'll be doing most of the show, as a matter of fact, live from London. But we have Alex on site now. He's there with Leanne McAdoo and with Richard Reeves. Paul Joseph Watson, of course, is there, as he lives in the area. And they're going to be covering things. They've had some interesting encounters already at the Grove Hotel. But it's interesting to go back and look at the history of Bilderberg, to think about the fact that for decades, they denied that this existed. Just kind of like Bohemian Grove. You know, when Alex showed up and took a video of what was going on at Bohemian Grove and exposed what these crazy people we call leaders were doing at Bohemian Grove, it's just amazing. And yet, to this day, even though he's shown the pictures of what they were doing, you can go to Wikipedia and look up Bohemian Grove, and it says Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist, and talks about his film of what they're doing. So even when you show up and you film what they're doing, you're still a conspiracy theorist. Well, he's actually a conspiracy fact. And, you know, when we show up to Bilderberg, it's to show people that, yes, there really is an elite world government that really is planning this stuff. And you can really see the effects of what they're doing. And we're going to take a look later on the show at the real world effects that come out of the plans that people like Kissinger and Rockefeller and the Bilderberg Group have created for Europe and for the rest of the world. Right now, in Europe, across Europe, there are riots and demonstrations. Even in Turkey, there are riots and demonstrations. People are demonstrating against the economic hardships, against oppressive governments, but especially in Europe, it's economically focused. And what they've seen are bankers. Here we've got some pictures here from Turkey. It's just amazing. If you've got this on video, you can see this. It's giant hordes of people. If you can imagine the Tea Party demonstrations originally in Washington, imagine that going violent. And here's a man yelling at him. He says, you know, enough is enough. We are humans too. This is an old man. He's yelling at the cops who are in all of their armor and body armor and have their shields and everything. It really is like looking at these aerial photographs they have of these riots in Turkey. It's very much like looking at an aerial shot of the Roman Empire fighting the masses, the way they group together in a phalanx and have helmets and shields. Of course, the Romans didn't have guns and tear gas to shoot at the crowds, rubber bullets like they're shooting right now. But it's amazing to look at this and to think about the fact that, you know, it didn't work out too well for the Roman Empire in the long run. They were eventually taken down by the crowds, and eventually they were taken down because people were just fed up with the corruption. It wasn't so much that they fell from the outside. It's pretty effective to fight people who are unarmed when you've got all the arms, when you've got well-trained soldiers who are in helmets and have shields. It usually goes your way. But it doesn't go your way when people get sick and tired of the oppression and the corruption. And that's what's happening right here in Turkey. It's happening all over Europe. You've got the central bankers imposing their rule over democratically elected parliaments and throwing out the democratically elected people there. And people are getting sick and tired of that. Now, in more recent history, even after mainstream media started covering this, and we've got an article here from the International Business Times where they talked to Charlie Skelton. He's a reporter for The Guardian, and he says the first time that he covered Bilderberg was back in 2009, a conference in Athens. And listen to what he says. He says it was a baptism of fire. He said he was chased around Athens by the Greek secret police. That's right. They don't like you being there. They're very much, it's amazing to see that every time these guys go to a conference, they go to the most expensive castle-like hotel and buy out these fantastically expensive places that cost thousands of dollars a night to stay there. And giant conference rooms, they buy out the entire place, just like they did in Kiowa, South Carolina, just before Bilderberg. Bill Gates went down there with his eugenics conference, and a bunch of politicians, some celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, bought out the entire complex just so they can keep people away. That's how much they hate the public, and that's how much they hate publicity. The darkness hides from the light. Well, we've got an update from Bilderberg and showing Alex being chased out by security even before the elite arrived there. But let's go real quickly to Charlie Skelton was talking to Max Kaiser, because Max Kaiser's in London. And let's listen to what Max Kaiser says about Alex Jones arriving.
In London. You know, this is fantastic, because Alex, aside from being a great journalist and exposer of lots of bad things, he is uniquely Texan.
He's uniquely Texan. Well, we have to get him on Kaiser Report.
Absolutely.
Will Kaiser Report be coming to Watford?
Oh, yeah.
We should do one from Watford, camped outside.
Let's go.
It's not every year they come to Watford, is it? I mean,
Can you, actually, Charlie, for our American audience, can you explain what the heck Watford is?
what it is.
Watford is the thing you drive through in order to get out of Watford, basically. No, that's a terrible thing. I'm saying a terrible thing about Watford. I don't even really know Watford. Watford is just an area of northwest London, just off the M25, just south of that. So and the place where the hotel is beautiful.
That's Charlie
Sort
Skelton.
of town like where David Brent worked at the office?
Yeah, I think you're in the right. Yeah.
Slough potential.
Yes. It's on a path.
It's on a roundabout somewhere.
It used to be what Londoners would define as the point between south of England and the north of England, and the rest of
That's
England,
right,
basically.
yeah.
It was anything north of Watford
The Watford Gap.
wasn't really considered, just considered full stop if you were from London.
It's the edge, basically. It's
It
the
was,
edge
it
of
was
the
the
world.
edge, it was the wall.
The world stops at Watford.
It was exactly that, yes.
Okay, well, that's our little teaser for tonight.
There you go. Max Kaiser talking about Alex Jones's arrival, saying the Texas Twister has touched down in London. That's a pretty good way to put it. They don't want Alex anywhere close to the elite there, because he's not afraid of them. He's not afraid to call them out for what they are. And as a result, like I said, they canceled his reservation. Just before they left, they found out it was canceled. And when he went there yesterday, now remember that the elite masters have not yet arrived at their designated places. They threw him out, even though they were eating in the restaurant, and we got a video of that. Let's cut to that right now. This is Alex walking down the hallway. He's holding a cell phone.
Just say on tape you're kicking me out and not letting me pay for dinner. Oh, we're going to have to stare till the cops get here then.
That's fine. We are asking
Where
you to
is
leave,
Mr.
okay?
No, but I'm not going to let you kick me out of the restaurant and fall false charges of stealing.
You know that's not going to happen.
Well, then say that I try.
We as a hotel are asking you to leave, sir.
But we are leaving. I'm trying to pay for dinner. And you're saying leave without paying, right? Well, it doesn't matter. I got it on tape, so. Yeah.
Where's Richard?
Yeah, what have you guys done with Richard?
Okay. So, wish you a good night, sir. Your vehicle's up there.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Okay.
Listen,
Thank you,
seriously,
Alex.
we just came by to get some video and stuff and eat dinner, man. It's not a big conspiracy.
We're not a threat to anyone.
Okay.
We're just
Yeah, where's
trying to get
Richard?
some
Where's
pictures.
Richard?
Richard's up at the van.
And by the way, I'm more than happy to pay my bill.
Okay, we're going to be asking you to leave now, okay? Okay.
Okay, so you're not going to let me pay my bill.
Good night now.
All right.
I'm still waiting for the confirmation. The
Mr. Watson, I'm
cancellation.
asking you to leave, okay?
Well,
It's
leaving,
our
you're
choice that you're leaving, please. Please walk
But
away.
it's just weird that you won't say that.
Okay.
I mean, you won't even let us finish, and then you won't say you're kicking. You know, just all right. You got it on tape.
So there you go. There's Basil Fawlty working security at the Grove Hotel, throwing Alex out. I don't know what he did to offend them, but just like Fawlty Towers, he's sitting there eating, and they tell him that he's got to leave. And he's kind of worried that it might be a setup, that they're going to come after him for not paying his bill. So he wants to get it on tape that they're actually throwing him out and not letting him pay for the bill. But, of course, Basil won't really confirm that that's what's happening. He just keeps saying, you've got to leave, you've got to leave. So there you go. That's the kind of world we can look forward to if we let the elite run everything. The kind of world where they can just order you about and tell you that you can't be here. You have to go, and no explanation, and won't make anything clear. That's the kind of stonewalling that we've seen from them as far as reservation cancellation goes as well. Now, Michael Savage has weighed in on this, and I think he had a really good summary, short summary of Bilderberg for his audience. Let's listen to that tape.
The Bilderberg meeting is going on from June 6th through June 9th, 2013 in England. There will be 140 participants in 21 European and North American countries. And you're going to say, well, so what's wrong with that? Now, there's a lot of right-wing hysteria about the Bilderberg meetings. I don't know what it's about. I have a suspicion why they're afraid of the Bilderberg meeting. I guess because it sounds kind of Jewish. They assume that it's a secret Jewish meeting where there's a secret handshake. But if you actually look at the Bilderberg, the list of the Bilderbergs, you see its leaders in basically business and academia. Now, I don't like most of the philosophy of those from academia. They're all leftists. But you'll also notice there are no Russians on the list and no Chinese. Now, this is why China has the strongest economy in the world. Why are they not at the Bilderberg meeting? Now, founded in 1954, what is the Bilderberg meeting? Most of you never heard it. Most of you don't even know what the Bilderberg is, but to the right wing, the word Bilderberg itself provokes the desire to go out and buy hollow point ammunition. It was founded in 1954. It's a conference designed to foster dialogue between Europe and North America, meaning it's the New World Order, meaning it's a dialogue between business leaders and others in Europe and North America to build ties. That's how it started. Unfortunately, it's moved towards...
That's right. That's right. That's how it started, but that's not how it's ending. As he goes on, he talks about, it's a short clip, but we're running up to a break here. He talks about how it's now being used to control Congress. Yeah, that was the design all along. Even at their second meeting, that we now have their minutes, they were talking about the EU and the European Union, and we see how that's playing out. We'll be right back after the commercial break. We're going to be joining Alex in London shortly. Stay tuned. All right, we're back with the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex. He's going to be joining us in just a little bit. But we do have reports that are being filed from Alex. He was on site yesterday. The meeting starts today as far as people arriving. And yesterday they were making preparations. As these people are coming in, they need to have their fences up because they don't want you to get close to them. They don't want any information to get out about what they're doing, but they don't even want you anywhere around them. That's why they buy out these entire luxury hotel complexes and then use the security and the police forces from the nearby towns to chase people away at the taxpayers' expense. You know, that's what the police are there for, right? To protect the elite from you. Well, we got Alex taking a look at their barrier of steel. He calls it the Bilderberg Ring of Steel. Let's take a look at what he found yesterday.
What are you guys building? Looks like an art project or something.
Hang on, mate.
I'm just going to get a photo here. So what are you guys putting together?
Just a fence.
Yeah, I saw the steel grating down there. You guys are working late into the night, huh?
It's all night.
Oh, really? All night? Wow. Well, I'll leave you alone so you can get it done. Have a good one.
Until we're finished.
You guys have a good one.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Cheers.
Yeah, working through the night. Got to get that up because you know what? This could be a big event. This could be very large. You've got David Icke going. You got Alex Jones there. People that are very well known in England. You've also got massive demonstrations going on just across the channel in Frankfurt. They're protesting the European Central Bank all this last weekend. They called it Blockupy. A lot of people there, thousands of people there. If very few of those could show up at the Bilderberg convention, you could have a massive crowd there, and probably will have, I would expect. There's going to be a lot of people there. So they're very concerned about that. They're busy putting up these construction projects, for those of you who couldn't see it. I mean, they're making some pretty heavy fortifications there to protect people. You know, when I look at this, I think about the power of even just one person, and Hong Kong is now marking the Tiananmen Square remembrance. It's the 24th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, and everybody remembers that iconic picture of the one person standing in front of the tank. Now, what you don't know in the West is that subsequently tanks did run over people there. They did shoot and kill a lot of people there. That part was not televised, but that was a wonderful, iconic moment when he stood in front of those tanks. And if you remember, the tank kind of made a movement to go to the left, then a movement to go to the right. And every time the tank would move, he would move in front of the tank. It's really a testimony to the power of ideas, to the power of people. And although the Chinese people haven't achieved their freedom from a ruling elite yet, they're still being used as slave labor in China. One of the ways that they do that, we went to China, I adopted my daughter from there. One of the ways they do that is to allow the Chinese people to have an increase in the standard of living. Now, certainly the people who are out in the countryside are still living in very abject poverty. And they're ruling them with an iron fist. I think it was Unwed Mothers. There was an article that it's something like 6 times their annual income. They get penalized if they have a child out of wedlock. Families that have more than one child are hit with severe economic penalty. There's a lot of poverty still in China, but they're so poor after Mao's policies, after he ground them into the dust, after he killed tens of millions of people, after the Great Famine, which he called the Great Leap Forward. David Rockefeller, talked about how this is the most important and successful revolution and social reform program in human history. David Rockefeller loved the Chinese oppression under Mao. That's what he would like to see happen everywhere. He wants to see population controlled. He wants to see people controlled. But there's a lot of power in what one person can do. But listen to this Chinese fellow who spoke earlier this year at a Massachusetts state gun rally talking. He was at Tiananmen Square when it happened 24 years ago. And he was talking about people there as to why you don't want to give up your Second Amendment rights in this country. And here's what he had, a little bit of what he had to say.
This past Monday, I decided to visit the Lexington Green to pay my tribute to Captain John Parker. As I was walking on the green, I thought to myself, you know what? The founding fathers of the United States and Chairman Mao had one thing in common. They all thought guns are very important political instruments. However, their similarities ended there. Chairman Mao wrote in one time, he said, political power grew out of barrel of a gun. And he also wrote, the party shall...
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, filling in for Alex, but Alex is going to be joining us very shortly with live reports from Bilderberg. He's going to be doing the last 2 hours live from England, just outside of London, Watford, UK. Whereas we've already talked about, we've got the hotel staff there is acting a bit like Faulty Towers, running Alex out of the restaurant even without allowing him to pay the bill. It's pretty amazing. And the conference hasn't even started yet. People don't even start arriving. Our grand lords do not start arriving until today. But even yesterday, we have to get the rabble like Alex Jones out of the way. And we were talking just before the break about how this is now the 24th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, that iconic picture of the guy standing in front of the column of tanks. And what we didn't talk about is the fact that still in Beijing, even though there are celebrations of it in Hong Kong, with a lot of people there attending a candlelight vigil because it is a very solemn occasion. A lot of people were killed by the military. Not everybody, we always see that picture of the guy standing in front of the tank, but a lot of people did die there. But in Beijing, police blocked the gate of a cemetery housing victims of the crackdown on a pro-democracy demonstrators as part of a sweeping annual effort to bar commemorations. You have to understand that China was used by Rockefeller and the New World Order. There is a massive transfer of wealth. We did a special report on this last night on the Nightly News. If you didn't see that, it's probably because you're not a Prison Planet member. You need to pay up and see this special content. But we talk about how Rockefeller and the elite desired to have a massive transfer of wealth from the United States. As we now see, that's happened in only about 3 decades. We see pretty much most of the manufacturing capacity of the United States. Much of our wealth has been transferred to China, and it's not from the American people to the Chinese people. It's from the Americans to a few ruling elite. The Chinese are not out of the woods yet. They are still under the oppression of Mao-like rulers in China. I've seen it. I've been there. The people who are getting a better standard of living, who've moved out of the countryside, they see their standard of living go up. It pacifies the population somewhat, but they are working under what everybody else would consider to be slave conditions. They still have a working slave population that is serving the multinational corporations. These same leaders, these multinational corporations that are going to Bilderberg. An article on Infowars.com says, congressional report proves that taxpayers are subsidizing Walmart employees. A congressional report released Thursday confirms what many Americans have suspected all along. Taxpayers are subsidizing Walmart's workforce. The running joke that says, for every dollar you save at Walmart, you spend $2 more in taxes isn't far off the mark. And it says further down, they estimate that a single 300-person Walmart supercenter store in Wisconsin likely cost taxpayers at least $904,542 per year. Per year. And if you add in the fact that many Walmart employees who receive Medicaid benefits also benefit from other taxpayer-funded programs such as food stamps, WIC, and other federal aid because they don't pay them much, the total cost to taxpayers is more like $1.7 million a year, about $5,800 per Walmart employee, and that's just for a single store. You see, the whole point of most of what the government does is to transfer wealth, and it's not between different classes as much as we are led to believe by this false left-right paradigm. The primary transfer of wealth is from people to a few ruling elite. We can see that more clearly every day as we see what's going on. Look at this article from the London Guardian about Amazon and Google chiefs joining other corporate tax avoiders at the Bilderberg confab. Now, out of the 140 participants, you've got a lot of the largest companies like Amazon.com, Google. They don't pay any taxes. I don't know about Amazon, but I know Google hasn't paid any taxes. Apple pays virtually nothing. There's a big scandal going on in the UK about that. The whole point of the tax code is to transfer wealth to the government so they can redistribute it in large amounts to companies like Walmart or to Google or to other insiders who are giving a nice tithe of that to the politicians who transfer the massive amounts of money to them. And I think it's about time people have had enough of this, enough of the IRS, enough of this corrupt system. And when we see the IRS being used as a weapon, that's gotten everybody's attention. What they haven't seen is this massive redistribution of wealth. And what they haven't paid attention to is the fact that going back as far as the Reagan administration, first thing he did when he got in was he created the Grace Commission. He had one of the top accounting firms go in and take a look at where the money was coming from and where the money was going. And what he found out was that all of the money that we pay in income tax just went to service the debt. In other words, to the Federal Reserve, to the private central bank. The Federal Reserve was created at the same time the income tax was, and what we've been on is a 100-year interest-only balloon note. And they're using that balloon note. They're calling it due now across Europe, and they're going to do it here in America. They're going to say, time's up. Your balloon note is overdue. We're repossessing your country. That's what they do when they take out democratically elected people and put in Goldman Sachs bankers in their place, as they've done in Italy and Greece and other places. That's what Nigel Farage of the UK Independence Party called them on in the European Parliament. And so it's about time that somebody starts talking about getting rid of this corrupt system. We always said, when we talked about it in the Libertarian Party, that it's not about revenue, it's about controlling you. That's what the income tax is there for. And it's there to send money to the banks. They don't care as long as they get their interest payment each time. They're going to keep compounding that. They're going to encourage you privately to go into debt. If you're a college student, you're going to get those credit card offers. They're also going to do the same thing with each and every country because they want every country indebted to them. And when they screw up, when their massive derivative schemes fail, they have the government assume those debts and then turn around and say, well, government, you're now insolvent, so you've got to turn over real assets to us. It's amazing. They use their failures to take over the sovereignty of countries. People are starting to wake up, though, because of the political nature of the persecution that the IRS is being used for. And understand, this is nothing that's new from Obama. This is something that has gone on since the time of FDR. We've got documented cases of virtually every president using the IRS as a weapon against their political enemies. It's just that Obama has done it more openly, more pervasively, more unashamedly than any other president has ever done. Used to be when you'd get caught doing this, like Nixon did, you would get impeached, you'd get thrown out. But nothing happens to Obama no matter what he does. Talk about a Teflon president, that's the guy. But people are starting to wake up. Here's what Ted Cruz had to say about abolishing the income tax.
Joining me now in the hot seat, my old friend, Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you for joining us. We go way back to the old days, the Texas Solicitor General days, if I'm not mistaken. Senator, you're leading the charge to abolish the IRS. I think that's a fantastic idea. Tell us your plan.
Well, look, we have seen in recent weeks that the IRS has not honored its trust with the American people, that the Obama administration has demonstrated a willingness to use the machinery of government to target their political enemies. And that's wrong. It was wrong when Richard Nixon did it, and it's wrong when Barack Obama did it. And it is a manifestation of too much power in the federal government. When the federal government has that much power in our individual lives, it's an invitation to being abused. And I think we ought to abolish the IRS and instead move to a simple flat tax where the average American can fill out our taxes on a postcard. Put down how much you earn, put down a deduction for charitable contributions for home mortgage, and how much you owe. It ought to be just a simple one-page postcard and take the agents, the bureaucracy out of Washington and limit the power of government.
I have a hunch you might get bipartisan support for an idea like that.
Well, it seems to me we should, because it's about empowering the people. And that ought to be a bipartisan value. That ought to be something Republicans and Democrats can both embrace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It ought to be bipartisan. You know, when we see Rachel Maddow, we see Sean Hannity, what they use is this scandal. They say, Rachel Maddow says, well, but Bush did it. Bush did that, so Obama can do it. Or if Hannity is in and somebody points out that Bush did something, he says, well, Bill Clinton did it, so we're okay with that. No, let's look at this and say power is being abused. Ted Cruz was exactly right. When you concentrate power, you're going to get concentrated corruption, and that's what we see. And so let's say bipartisanly that we want to get rid of this. This is something we don't need to have. And as I said before, it's not about revenue, it's about controlling you. They can collect taxes anonymously. That's what a consumption tax is. That's what a sales tax is. It's simple. If you've ever run a business, you know that the income tax that you've got to calculate, when you fill that out, that's a tremendous amount of work and expense and legal jeopardy, because you're signing your name to this thing in violation of you're signing away your Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment rights. And so it's a very troubling thing the way the income tax works. But a sales tax is very simple. It doesn't take any time at all to do a sales tax. If you're a merchant, all you do is just look at your gross revenue. Anybody that runs a business can determine what their gross revenue is. That's not very difficult to do. So there may be a little bit of distinction in some areas. You might have some food exemptions, that sort of thing. So you may have to distinguish between that. That's not a difficult thing to do. It's nothing at all like an income tax. But remember this, when we talk about it controlling you, the income tax was there well before we had the kind of surveillance computer state that we have now. The income tax was there, and that gave the government an opportunity to go in and look at everything in your personal and private life. It gave them an opportunity for discovery. It gave them an opportunity for investigation. It also gave them an opportunity to control the population, giving them carrots and sticks, making them do this, making them do that. And those kinds of carrots and sticks were always done in the service of larger corporations. So it's time that we all wake up and look at the abuse of power, look at the way the income tax has been used to control us. Now, Ron Paul always said he didn't care that much about the form of taxation. He said if you get your taxes down to a low enough level, you don't really care how those taxes are being applied. There's a lot of truth to that. The taxation level is far too high. However, it's still important how you collect those taxes. It's still important that our constitutional rights, that our dignity, that our liberties are respected, that our privacy is not invaded, that we're not manipulated and controlled by like a bunch of lab rats for the benefit of large multinational corporations like Walmart that have used the government to get special favors. And I hear that we've got Alex Jones on the line right now. He's going to join us. Alex, you there?
Yes, sitting here listening to you the last few minutes. I'm doing Skype audio as I drive from London with some breaking info back out to Watford. And listening to the show, you're doing a great job. And I want to comment on the IRS situation here in just a moment. But first off, am I coming to you good?
Yeah, sound great.
Fantastic. First off, because I forgot to say this yesterday, I want to just say that Richard Reeves has been the most valuable player on this trip so far. And he's sitting right next to me. And Richard, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to London. We are broadcasting live, obviously, and Alex is going to be giving you a big breakdown later on all the news of the day.
Anyways, there is Richard Reeves, and I intended to be back, but we hit traffic that was going half a mile an hour that got us about 30 minutes behind. So we're almost back to the hotel where we're staying. I'm going to meet with the head police people tonight. I've got a lot of breaking news, but I'm going to get that out at the bottom of the next hour after we set up video Skype. And I actually have my notes in front of me and can punch up some of the emails and things that I have on my phone. So I've got to go over some of my notes and things. I'll be back in about 15, 20 minutes to the hotel, and then we'll connect up, and I'll be ready at the bottom of the next hour with a bunch of breaking news, focused info, but not just Bilderberg. I've got some other important news that I want to cover as well. But just getting back to David Knight there and the viewers and listeners in the studio, big breaking news in the United States and North America when the #1 news site, drudgereport.com, linked yesterday and today, top link, last time I saw it a few hours ago on the left-hand side, to the Bilderberg list and to their agenda. I want to go over what their agenda is code word for. That's a big deal when something like that is out in front of everybody, where you have all these world leaders meeting in secret and then basically trying to tell the public that it doesn't exist. That's the big issue, is exposing that the puppet masters exist. That's a big victory that they've been denying it exists, that we forced it. That discredits them. But Bill Gates, we've confirmed, this is usually how they do it. It's not who's on the list that's important every year, about 125 people. There used to only be about 20 extra people that they tried to keep secret that were there. That's usually the illegal type stuff, where they're going to be meeting with regulators and people that are there, so you don't want that behind the closed door meeting. That's why they'll have people that try to sneak in, like Obama, like Hillary 5 years ago. Well, we've confirmed Bill Gates is in London in a few days, and you can bet your bottom dollar we'll try to sneak in. That's why they cover their faces with newspapers. That's why they don't want to be known that they're there. That's why they get so upset. And we've got some other big names that we know are in London, and from our moles are reportedly going to be out there. So to all the activist journalists, that's why it's important we not just be where the police and others say, oh, here you're allowed to stand on the sidewalk here, nowhere else. They're going to be trying to direct Bill Gates and others in the back entrance, or they're going to try to land via helicopter. I saw them out getting some marks out, and we tried to get footage, but I was going to try to go out there later, but then they caught us last night and threw us out. But I saw what looked like helicopter marks they were putting out on the front lawn. And again, it's a huge compound. Just the main acreage around the hotel is over 300 acres. And there's over 1,000 acres just for the golf course. There's several big pieces, but bottom line, that's why it's important that we get activists everywhere breaking up places, doing, splitting up our
starting
reporters.
to break
I've
up
got 6. I'm sorry, how much of that were you able to hear, David?
You said it's important that we get everybody out there, and you started to say that you've got reporters there, but go ahead. You got about 6 reporters?
Absolutely. That's why Alex Jones is not the most important person here. Paul Watson is not the most important person here. Steve Watson is not the most important person here. Eon Watson is not the most important here. Leanne McAdoo is not the most important person here. All of us independently are just as important, because you never know who is going to be there at a gas station down the street when a black limo pulls in, or a black Mercedes, and David Rockefeller's in the back in a wheelchair. You never know, when a helicopter lands, are you going to be in the bushes with a digital zoom, getting the shots of Lord Rothschild. So we're going to come back and talk more about that, just tactics and strategy. But when I get back at the bottom of the next hour, I'll give you the big scoops and more. David, take us out.
All right, well, we'll be right back. Stay tuned for more information from Bilderberg and from Infowars with Alex Jones. Welcome back to the Infowars show. This is Alex Jones, is on the line with us from Watford, UK. He's en route to the Bilderberg site where they're covering the annual Bilderberg meeting. And Alex is telling us just before the break about how the importance of covering Bilderberg is not just to expose the fact that it exists, because for decades we were told that it didn't exist. And it's not even just to expose their agenda, because much of their agenda is hidden at any given time. I've got a stack of stuff here of exposed past Bilderberg meeting minutes that were leaked by WikiLeaks. But as Alex was saying before the break, it's really key to have people on site all over the place, not just Alex Jones, not just the Infowars staff, but all the citizen journalists out there with their cameras, seeing who these secret attendees are. They publish a list of the people that are there, but the real key thing are the people that they don't tell you are coming. People that are like future presidential candidates, like Bill Clinton, who attended. Or when we had our Texas Governor Rick Perry, he attended before he ran for president. So it's always interesting to try to see who these unlisted attendees are. And so Alex is on his way there to cover that and many other aspects of Bilderberg, and we've got him on the phone live right now. Alex, are you there?
Absolutely, and I want you to be able to go over all the news you've got, other Bilderberg news, for the first 30 minutes of the next hour. My Skype's breaking up a bit. Am I coming through to you good, Houston?
What's that, Alex?
Am I coming through clear to you, Houston?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely. Just adding to this, also, because we force media coverage, we're then hijacking the dinosaur media. We can then expose what the Bilderberg agenda is to the media. And when they lock it down, and they've now built this big steel fence, when I was there last night, they were putting it up, and they said that the crew had to work throughout the night. I went up to the GS security group, GS6, and openly talked to them. And then when the head of security found out, he got so mad that we were hiding in plain view talking to the security people. So I've got some of the security preparations that I'll break down coming up as well. But there's so many reasons that this is important. So if you are in England, if you are in the UK, get down here any of the days. Tomorrow, right through Sunday. It's so important, and just bottom line, big numbers. But there's also the private airports close to Watford. There's so many places. You never know when you're going to run into these people. They also...
You're breaking up a little bit there, Alex. Can you hear me now? I think we lost Alex there. He's saying that it's very important, if you're anywhere in the area, if you're in England, show up, because you never know where you're going to see somebody there. You might see someone who's famous, and it's a real key thing. You know, famously, Margaret Thatcher supposedly went to one of the Bilderberg conferences. She did not like what she saw and was very openly critical of it. And it wasn't long after that she was removed from power by her own party. These people really wield power. And, you know, everywhere they go, they're imposing things like the income tax. As we mentioned before, that came on at the same time that the Federal Reserve, the private central bank that controls our currency and much of our economy here, that came on at the same time. This just came out from the BBC News. Tiny little Andorra is going to introduce an income tax for the first time. Andorra is a very small nation. It's, I think it's the sixth smallest European country. In case you don't know, I had to look up where Andorra was. It's located between Spain and France in the Pyrenees Mountains. Very tiny, only about 85,000 people in the entire country. But, you know, no matter how small they are, they cannot escape the scrutiny of the banks. The banks have to impose their income tax system. Why? Because that gives them the most control over people and over the economy. We'll be right back with some more coverage from Bilderberg and Alex Jones. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, standing in for Alex. We've had Alex live on the phone from the UK. He's on his way to Watford, UK, to cover the Bilderberg meeting as people are starting to arrive today. Alex has been delayed by traffic. He's going to do the last 2 hours today, but he's going to be back with us shortly. As a matter of fact, I hear we've got him on the phone right now. Alex, can you hear me? Hello, Alex.
Absolutely, David. Just finishing. Yes, David. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I got you.
Great. They got me faded up there. Fantastic. Yeah, I'm just calling in because I got stuck in traffic via audio Skype. I'll be to the hotel studio in the next 30 minutes with a whole raft of breaking news and information for you on Bilderberg. But just finishing the point that I was going to make. The reason it's important to mob this event with cameras is that you never know where a globalist is going to sneak off to go meet with a hooker or something, which they do a lot, or to go do Lord knows what. There's also little break-off meetings that they engage in sometimes. That's where we get some of the best intel. Also, it's good to go to local restaurants and bars. This is a semi-rural area, late night. Go ahead.
We got kind of spotty connection there. It's going in and out. But what Alex is doing is encouraging everyone who is anywhere in the area to do citizen journalism. You know, we had the Operation Paul Revere contest. Alex really sincerely believes that you are the Paul Reveres. He believes that we've got to get as many people on this as possible. That's why he set up that contest and had over $115,000 in prizes to encourage people to become citizen journalists. And we had a lot of people who sent in entries to that. It was the first time, obviously, a lot of them had done anything, but I got a lot of emails from people saying that it's really opened up their perspective on what they're able to accomplish. And we're going to be featuring a lot of those things on Prison Planet TV, Infowars.com, and also on Planet Infowars. We'll probably have some kind of a site there that's dedicated to that so that most of the people who put something up, we're not going to be able to put up everything. We got literally several hundred just in the last couple of days of entries. But we're going to try to put up some work from a lot of people. A lot of people sent us very many entries. We're going to just put a few of those up. But stay tuned. We're going to be putting that stuff up there. Now, one of the things you might want to be aware of is we've got a special. Pays for the bills, pays for these contests that we do. We've got a ProPure water filter special this week. We got 15% off of any filters there. You can see that at Infowars.com, Infowars shop. And we've also got that special up on our Bilderberg page. We've got a special site that is set up just to cover information about Bilderberg. It's Infowars.com/B. as in Bilderberg. You're going to see all the news about Bilderberg that we've got. You're going to see reports from other people. We had a clip earlier in the show from Michael Savage talking to his audience, explaining to his audience what Bilderberg is about. And it's great to see that news getting out there over a wide spectrum. Somebody that knows a little bit about being persecuted by the United Kingdom. He was refused entry into the United Kingdom. Supposedly, I don't really know what they claimed his controversial views were, but they can be very selective about the kind of political speech they allow. Although we have people there at the Bilderberg group. It says Bilderberg group, this is from The Guardian, says Bilderberg guest list includes George Osborne and Ed Balls. Heads of big tax-avoiding firms are attending this secretive group's 4-day summit. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The same guys who create the taxes for us and create the income tax systems for us don't pay any taxes. They just use that system to transfer wealth to their companies. We'll be right back. Hopefully we can get Alex again on the live on radio. He's traveling right now, so his connections are pretty spotty, but he's going to be doing a lot of coverage from Bilderberg, and he'll be right back after the break. That's right, we're here live. I'm David Knight, and Alex Jones is in the UK, and he is looking for answers. He wants to know what's going on, and he's going to be telling us what he finds out. We had him on the phone live as he was en route, and the reception is going in and out, so he's going to be checking back in with us periodically. Once he gets on site and gets a stable connection, he's going to be here for a long time, taking over the show, telling us everything that he's seen, and he's been very active, as always. Alex never rests. and he's been very active in the UK. Now, we covered last night on the nightly news the idea that Motorola is coming up with a new high-tech device to track you and to basically enable you to use the internet. They sell it as a high-tech tattoo or a pill that you can swallow. And you know, it's such a problem when you have passwords that you have to remember, that people are going to be willing to put these tattoos on their body or swallow pills in order to get rid of that problem. Do you really think so? Do you think this is something that is really coming from the public? Are there people out there complaining, in your experience, about remembering passwords to the extent that they're willing to do something like this? Let's understand where this is coming from. This is coming from Motorola Mobile. And the lady who is the head of that division now is the former head of DARPA. Yes, the dark research people. That's why I like to call them. The same people that create killer robots, the same people that are out there creating weapons, staying up all hours of the night, creating stuff to destroy the world, that DARPA. She came from DARPA and she went to work for Motorola Mobility. They've been bought by Google. Yes, that's right. It's all connected, isn't it? You've got this revolving door, just like you used to see only in the military-industrial complex, with people going back and forth between military research projects and actually working for the military. So you have these revolving doors that are not disturbing just from a financial standpoint, but they're disturbing from the idea that Google is now buying out Motorola's mobile division, which is then put in ahead of DARPA, who is then coming in and saying, we really want to make sure that everybody's got a password to get on the internet. They want to make sure that they've got some way to identify you. This is not being driven by the consumers. This is being driven by the elite leaders. They want to know exactly where you are and what you're doing, and you've got to take this tattoo and put it on you like some kind of mark of the beast in order for you to have access to the economy. Remember that a big part of this immigration bill that's being pushed now in Congress is about extending biometric identification. We know that they've got cameras all over the place, that they're looking at facial recognition. They're even examining the way that you walk to identify people, looking at your ears, whatever. But they want to take this to an all-new level. They can never have enough control. It's kind of like the original Rockefeller. You know, he was famously asked at one point by a reporter, "You're the richest man in the world. How much is enough? Why do you keep accumulating more and more money?" And of course, his answer was, there's never enough. There's always enough. How much is enough? Just a little bit more. And that's the way it is with control. These people are control freaks. They want to control everything in your life. And so they want to come up with tattoos and pills that you swallow in order to track you. Now, also in tech news, we've got Apple devices. It's just been learned that Apple devices, reported by the BBC, are vulnerable to attack via a bogus charger. Look at how easy it is for the government or a malicious private individual to hack into your phone. Using a bogus charger, a team from the Georgia Institute of Technology managed to infect a phone with a virus in less than a minute. Any device using Apple's iOS operating system would be as vulnerable to infection, they claim. And they said that this affects all users. It does not require a jailbroken device, and it does not require any user interaction. Now, famously, a year or so ago, General Petraeus, a Bilderberg attendee now, he's there with his new best friend forever, Henry Kissinger. You know, he was kissing Kissinger on the cheek, giving him an award for defending freedom and democracy just about a week ago. And now the two of them are traveling to Bilderberg. I'm sure they'll have a lot to talk about in defending freedom and democracy. Don't you think that's on the agenda, defending freedom and democracy? Probably not. But he famously said that at a conference, talking about how they were going to use appliances to monitor people and to spy on people. And we had a guest last night on the Infowars Nightly News. We had Sheila Hemphill, and she successfully led an effort here in Texas to remove not to remove smart meters, but just to allow people to have the freedom to opt out of these things. And we talked about that. If you haven't seen that report, that's a very good, very informative interview If you know people that don't know why smart meters are dangerous, you need to show them this interview, because what we do is we talk about the health issues, we talk about the privacy issues that I just mentioned, and there's many other privacy issues, but we also talked about the economic issues. And there's a lot of people out there who were, I kind of call them the Fox News crowd. They don't really care about privacy. They may not buy into the health issues, but they care about money. You can get their attention if you talk about money. And there's a lot about smart meters that is about money. There's an effort. What it is really is something that came up with about 10 years ago, their official report. Of course, I've been playing it longer than that. But it's about managing the decline of energy production in the United States. Not only are they not building infrastructure in the United States, well, why should they? Because they're transferring all of our heavy industry and manufacturing to China. They're not building new power plants, but they're shutting down the ones that we've got. And they're going to use these smart meters to manage that decline, because they don't want to make less money. These power companies want to make more money. So how are they going to do that? They're going to charge you a differential price rate based on when you're using the energy. And they've already know that it's not going to change people's behaviors. Certainly everybody is going to work at about the same time, so those are peak hours, and people are getting up and getting dressed, taking showers, cooking. You can't change the hours that you work, so your peak use of electricity isn't going to really change, even if they put very high rates on those peak hours. But it's going to be a way that they can make more money as they supply you less and less for what you pay. Now, along that line, there's a massive protest in Tokyo. 60,000 people are protesting government plans to restart nuclear power in that area. Now, in the wake of Fukushima, they basically shut down all nuclear power in Japan, and now they're starting to talk about pulling it back up again. There are a lot of issues with nuclear power. It's not my favorite way to generate power. We have a power plant in North Carolina, not too far from where I came from, just outside of Raleigh. And they're now starting to see these nuclear power plants, which were originally licensed for 25 years, like this Sharon Harris plant in North Carolina. And it's been 25 years now. And they're not doing anything to change the power plant. They just said, we're going to extend the license. We're just going to, by fiat, say that it's safe, and we're going to extend it for another 10 years, 20 years, 25 years. Who knows how long it's going to go? It'll probably go indefinitely, or until it melts down or they have a major accident like Fukushima. And it was within less than a year after they said, we're going to just ignore this 25-year limit, that they had to shut the entire plant down because they found technical problems that could result in a very dangerous leak there. So that entire plant, as far as I know, is still shut down. That happened a week or so ago. But the real problem with nuclear power is not even the accident issues that you see there, but the fact that you have no way to dispose of the nuclear waste. Look at what the real issue at Fukushima was. The real issue is this pool of on-site stored waste. And once these nuclear power plants operate for a number of decades, the actual power plants themselves become so irradiated that they have to cease operation. They have to shut them down and disassemble them, and the components of the buildings actually become more nuclear waste, along with the spent fuel rods. These are things that have to be managed, that have to be controlled, that have to be contained for tens of thousands of years. Now, apart from the health issues, apart from the technical issues of doing that, let's go back again for the Fox News crowd to the money. Let's talk about the money. Who's going to pay for the constant containment and monitoring of that? Apart from all the health risks that can happen, and we've seen now with Fukushima what can happen if you don't keep those spent nuclear fuel rods contained. Unfortunately, you know, we're shutting down the power plants, the old fossil fuel power plants. We're shutting them down at an alarming rate, and we're seeing electricity rates go through the ceiling, and those are not clean power. You know, we can build clean power plants from fossil fuels. They're not a perfect solution, but when you look at these other types of solutions, they only look worse. It's really sad to see what's happening to the power industry base here. But of course, as I said, when you've got manufacturing being transferred across seas, we don't, I guess, need to have that much electricity, and you're going to see consumers paying a lot more for electricity as the primary users of electricity, manufacturing gets shut down. Now, in other news, we've got emails of top Obama appointees remains a mystery, according to My Way reporting here. They say that some of President Barack Obama's political appointees, including the Cabinet Secretary for the Health and Human Services Department, are using secret government email accounts they say are necessary to prevent their inbox from being overwhelmed with unwanted messages. Sure, that's why they're doing it. They're worried about spam, right? According to a review by the Associated Press, the scope of using the secret accounts across the government remains a mystery. Most U.S. agencies have failed to turn over lists of political appointees' email addresses, which the AP sought under Freedom of Information Act more than 3 months ago. They tried to get the AP to pay more than $1 million for these email addresses. Now, of course, we know that it's not just spam. They're trying to hide what they're doing, just like they're trying to hide at Bilderberg. And we're going to be right back after the break. We're going to be with Alex Jones. He's going to be live on Infowars Radio here, talking about what he sees in England at Bilderberg. Coming right up. Stay tuned. That's right. I am a man of constant sorrow. David Knight here for Infowars, and Alex Jones. He's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour from Bilderberg in Watford, UK. Right now, Alex is on the road, caught in traffic there. Hopefully, they're not having any trouble figuring out which side of the road to drive on. That's always an issue if you've been over there. And I'm sure British people have the same problems when they come here. We've got some information about Bilderberg, and if you want to keep up with what's going on there, go to Infowars.com/B. That's B as in Bilderberg, and we have constant updates there, not just from what we're covering, but as other people cover Bilderberg. We have something that we talked about earlier today. We had a clip from Michael Savage, who was explaining to his audience what's really going on with Bilderberg and why we should be concerned. Some breaking news here from Steve Watson, who reports that a no-fly zone has been enacted over the Bilderberg meeting. Police regard the confab as a potential terrorist target. Well, there may be some terrorist planning going on there. I don't know. That doesn't seem to be their style. Usually what they like to do is they like to go incrementally. We have another article here from Urian Masin, who talks about Bilderberg's 60-year trajectory has been exposed. And this subtitle that he's got here on the article is what's really key. He says, incrementalism is the key to Bilderberg's long-term agenda. That's right, incrementalism. It's not only key to their agenda, it's the key to their success. Leaked minutes from Bilderberg meetings in the past from WikiLeaks show that the first meeting was in 1954. And we don't have those minutes from that meeting. But the next year, 1955, they were working in detail on both the European Union and the EU. And we see what's happened with that. And there was an interesting video submission in Operations Paul Revere that we featured at the end of last week. It's called Blockheads. And the guy who put that together, the filmmaker, had some very good, it was good, very good narrative in it. One of the first things he talked about in the introductory piece was Gaddafi and why he was taken out. He was taken out primarily because he was talking about how the world was being broken down into just 7 to 10 nation states. They were transcending national sovereignty, but he was trying to do it too quickly and, of course, put himself in charge. They didn't like that. They wanted to go with incrementalism. But certainly there is 7 to 10 economic blocks, actually 10 have been identified now, trading blocks throughout the world. They're carving the world up incrementally into these free trade zones, quote unquote, free trade zones. They're using the moniker of free trade, which is a good thing. Free trade would be a good thing if it were really free. But when you've got a document that is the size of a phone book, that's not free trade. That's managed trade. And free trade within an area is super. That's what made America so strong. You know, it was Jefferson in his second inaugural speech. He said that he had eliminated all internal taxation so that no farmer, no mechanic, no laborer knew a tax man. There were no internal taxation inside America. All the taxes were paid on goods that came into the country that crossed national borders. You can do that when you've got a government the size of the government that Jefferson presided over. And we ought to be striving to do that. Now, people say the world is too complex, the world is too big. You know what? The government only makes the world more complex. What do we hear every time they screw up? We hear that they made mistakes. They couldn't handle it. We even amazingly heard from the Obama administration an excuse saying the government is so big we can't manage it. And yet these are the people who are trying to make it even bigger. These are the people who, their centerpiece of the first Obama session, the first term, was to take over a seventh of the economy. And these are the people who are saying that it is too large to manage. Yes, it is too large to manage. Centralization is a bad idea. You know, going back to my college years, those were the days of the transition from mainframe computers to personal computers. And it was interesting for me to look at what a bottleneck mainframe computers made. You had these multi-million-dollar centralized machines that were used, in our particular case, it was used by multiple universities. It was so large. And everybody was queuing up to wait on this thing. Everybody was standing in line to use the mainframe computer. And it was monitoring everything that we did. Every little microsecond was being counted. Every little bit of movement was being counted. It was making us wait on it. And the interesting thing was to see what happened when things were decentralized with personal computers. At that point, the computers waited on us. At that point, we had control, and it actually worked for the people. That's what we need to see happening in government. That's the model we need to see. We'll be right back with Alex Jones, live from the UK. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. Alex will be joining us shortly from England. We're still having some technical difficulties there, I believe. They were on the road. Traffic is a little bit heavy there in London, so we're running a little bit late. But we got this breaking news out of Massachusetts. The Square One Mall yesterday was evacuated after a suspicious device was found in a parking garage. What was that suspicious device? It was a 2.5-quart pressure cooker. Stainless steel in nature, he says. They put a 1,000-yard buffer zone up around the pressure cooker, evacuated Best Buy and Workout World, and people waited in the rain, unable to return to their cars, stuck at the mall in the rain, out of their cars for over 2.5 hours. Why? Because they found a pressure cooker. This is what it's coming down to, folks. You talk about people being paranoid conspiracy theorists. I think we've got some in the government. Let's talk about the public here a little bit. We've got a great piece, another one that Mark Dice has done, this time asking people about a Holocaust holiday. Let's take a look at that.
So out of touch with reality that they don't know what the Holocaust was? Will they sign a petition thinking that the Holocaust is a Jewish celebration? Let's find out. Would you help support the Holocaust party this year at the beach? The city's going to cut it due to budget cuts. We're just
I'm just a visitor. I don't know.
That's okay. Is that you're an American citizen?
Yes, I am.
That's okay. We just need a signature. The city, due to budget cuts, is eliminating the Holocaust celebration this year, and so the Jewish people, birthday, please. And so the Jewish people want to celebrate the Holocaust. They do a big reenactment each year. Signed there. There's a big barbecue. They roast pigs over spigots. And the Holocaust celebration will be here in a few weeks. But now that you have supported the Holocaust party, maybe it won't get canceled this year. Thank you, sir. Hey, we support the Holocaust celebration for the festival for the city. It's a big party. What I got you? Just sign here, name and signature. You know, but the Holocaust, it's a big party. It's a celebration for the Jews. They hang out here on the beach. They dig a bunch of holes and bury people in the sand for fun, to celebrate the Holocaust. So this is supporting the Holocaust celebration. Sweet. Thank you, bro. You're welcome. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This is terrible. Support the Holocaust celebration festival this year. It's a big Jewish holiday, but the city, because of budget cuts, is trying to cut it down. So we're getting signatures to support the Holocaust celebration this year. Just a name and a signature, please.
That's it?
Yep, no birthday, or a birthday too, but no email or anything. And it's a big holiday. The Jews celebrate the Holocaust every year, and they do a reenactment. And so the budget cuts are trying to eliminate that. So this is going to support the Holocaust celebration this year. Thank you so much. Every year the Jewish people do a reenactment and have bonfires and things, and thank you. Are you on vacation?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Get some sun while you're here. Just a name, birth date to support the Holocaust celebration. It's a big festival, a favorite festival of the Jewish people. They have bonfires and roast pigs over the spigots and stuff. Celebrating the Holocaust. Thank you, sir.
There you go. Cool. Have a good one, bro.
Listen, and nobody so far has started arguing with me, threatened me, punched me. This is absolutely ridiculous, and these people are signing it. This is unbelievable. To support the Holocaust Jewish celebration festival at the beach this year, they're trying to cut it due to budget cuts.
I'm not a resident of California.
That's okay. You're an American citizen, right?
I'm an American citizen.
Okay. What this will do, you're signing a petition to help support the Holocaust, a second Holocaust. The Jewish people have really been looking forward to that. And a lot of people don't want that to happen, but you just signed a petition to support the Holocaust. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of Holocaust reenactments. Signature? They're going to be digging holes in the beach and burying people for fun as a contest to see how many bodies they can bury in the beach. This is part of the Holocaust celebration. It's the 22nd.
I know, my bad.
So this supports the Holocaust. Thank you. Unbelievable. You ever see when people dig a bunch of holes in the beach and bury people? There's going to be like you're going to see how many bodies they can bury on the beach. It's this old Jewish tradition in the sand and stuff, and barbecuing.
It is truly amazing. It is truly amazing.
In the ovens and stuff.
You know,
we
look at how dumbed down people are here in the U.S., and it's just amazing that they're so pacified, and they'll take this stuff no matter what you tell them. You sitting there telling them we're going to do fake body burying in the beach and everything. I mean, it's just people are just so pacified here in America. Well, we've got Alex live now. We've established connection. He's in Watford, UK, covering the Bilderberg. And Alex, are you there?
Absolutely, David. Again, thanks for doing a great job, as you're going to be doing all week, sitting in. Next Monday when I return, while I'm flying back in, we're going to have Mike Adams doing the whole 3 hours. And again, I just want to thank you and the whole crew for doing a great job, and everybody that supported Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv over the years to allow the real alternative media to actually come here and expose this. This is a huge victory, but there's so much Bilderberg news, and I got here about 40 minutes late because of traffic. We'll know better tomorrow. That I'm going to cover Bilderberg in depth with you at the start of the next hour. Then we're going to have Leanne McAdoo and Paul Watson in studio with us here on the road, here in the hotel studio, to break down what they've witnessed, what they've seen, their take on things. And I have some breaking news. But during the next break, I need to reflect on it, write it down, pull some of it up, because I literally just got connected in here about 5 minutes ago and was listening to you talk about Mark Dice. So I'm going to cover all that Bilderberg news in the third hour. And then I've got some other obvious, big world news, military news. They're pushing chemical weapons in Syria again when it's admitted that it's the al-Qaeda rebels that have it and are using it. And I'm no fan of Assad, but as dictators go, he's kind of like a Hugo Chavez type. Does some corrupt things, but is nothing compared to the globalist. And we're offensively attacking their country and putting people in. I don't want to exaggerate, but I've said like 10 times worse. And then I've thought about it and I go, wait, Al-Qaeda is not 10 times worse than Assad, who's killing nobody before all this started. They're literally hundreds of times worse. If you look at all the mass murdering they do all over Africa, the Middle East, attacking southern Russia, when they take over a country, they kick women out of college, put burqas on their heads, sexually mutilate them. And I was just thinking about how just about 20 miles from where I sit is another famous town north of London that Watson's been to. He says it's not right-wing propaganda, where Muslims on the street go around telling women who are even non-Muslim, getting in their face, you better put on a burqa, you better not wear that skirt. And about 40% of the population is Muslim in that town. So I'm intending to go over there, not saying Muslims are bad, but pointing out how the most radical of Muslims are being Saudi Arabia-backed, British government-backed, French government-backed, NATO-backed, U.S. government-backed. And as much as some right-wingers, you know, just say, kill all the Muslims, let God sort them out, they need to understand, folks, our government and NATO takes the radical, really nasty Wahhabists. We've had Syrian girl on, you know, who herself's a Sunni but hates the Wahhabists, and put them in your country to blow up your mosque if it's not Sunni, or Sunni they like. They bomb other Sunni mosques that aren't crazy like they are, or if you're Shiite, or if you're Wahhabist. I mean, this is a Wahhabist attack on everybody, and so I want to get into that because it just hits me when you come to a country like the UK or England, a part of the UK, where there are, from what I've seen, as many Muslims as there are English people. And, you know, they're here. A lot of them have embraced the culture and Magna Carta and things. But the whole point is this Wahhabism does not match with the Bill of Rights Constitution or the Magna Carta 1215 it flows from. And I know you're a student of that as well, David. And look, you know, I'm all for having an open culture, but I don't want al-Qaeda around, and I'm tired of it being protected and then used to take our liberty. So we're going to be talking about some of the big developments because they have it all over Sky TV here. You know, they're Fox. As I walked in the building, the hotel, they had it up there with Carney, you know, saying, oh, we're going to do something, you know, about chemical weapons in Syria, breaking, oh my gosh. Just amazing. So that's all coming up. But I want to say something about the Mark Dice piece that we posted on Infowars.com last night and that we just aired here for the radio listeners. People who are radio listeners should go to Infowars.com. It's up in the tile section, and they should watch it to see it. It's even more powerful. And, of course, the trolls are in the video saying, how dare you make fun of the Holocaust? Or they're saying, you're saying, you know, or they're saying the Holocaust didn't happen. Both sides. No, Hitler killed millions and millions of people. No one knows for sure, but it's estimated that Hitler killed around, because of the war, 20 million people, and millions of Jews and millions of other groups, you know, millions of other people. Basically, anybody that didn't roll over. And the fact is that to show how dumbed down the public is, especially in L.A., there have probably been, let's not exaggerate, 200 Holocaust movies since World War II, 300, 400, it's probably a lot more. And I'm sure that number's been tabulated. We can search, you know, how many Holocaust movies have been made. So despite that fact, if I seem distracted, they don't have air conditioners here in England. And in our hotel, we have the windows open, and a giant yellow and green hornet just flew through the window and over to me right behind the Skype camera and was hovering, looking right at me, and then just shot back out of the window. Sorry, it takes a lot to distract me. It just had a hornet literally a foot and a half in front of my face, and just right here. Getting back to the whole Holocaust situation. Everybody knows about the Holocaust. Everybody knows about Hitler. Everybody knows about World War II and the death camps and the forced labor camps, or at least they should. And you can debate how bad it was, or, it goes from horrible to just over the top evil. It's all just shades of black, all shades of darkness. But everyone, you would think, even in dumbed down California, would know about the Holocaust. And he's going, listen, we want to reinstate the Holocaust by the second half of the video. And he said he had like 20 minutes of this. He just cut it down to 6, but he said everyone, basically. No one got mad. No one got upset. No one got threatened. No one got offended. He just said, we're going to reinstate the Holocaust because Jews love it and they want to experience it again, and they want to roast pigs. Everybody knows that practicing, Jews, Hebrews don't eat pork. Neither do Muslims, a lot of other people. The point is, everybody knows that. So he's giving them hint after hint. We're going to bury him. We're going to have mass buryings. We're going to mass burials. And all of them, all of them agreed and signed the petition to bring back the Holocaust and roast pigs over Jews in pits. And it just shows how incredibly dumbed down and lazy. But these aren't just stupid people. That's not even the main issue. Sure, their IQs have been reduced. No, it's that they watch TV. They're living in a la-la land. They are literally in a dreamlike state. So I want to hit a couple other news items before I get into Bilderberg with you, but I'm sure you want to comment some more after playing that video as well, David, because that's frightening. That, and I'm not singling out California. There's some of the most awake people in Central and Northern California, in San Diego. I love California, the topography, the weather. So much of it is great. Some of the most awake people I know are from California, literally. I mean, we're on 6, 7 stations in California, 2 of them in Santa Cruz. We have huge support. I go to California and thousands come out each night to hear me speak. But at the same time, it's either you're awake or you're totally dumb. And in California, it's so extreme that in Austin, you know, out of 10 people, 9 say ban water if it's for the earth or if it's for Obama. There, all of them say ban water. I would imagine in Austin, if I went out and said, you know, let's bury Jews, let's bring back the Holocaust, please sign a petition, I'd probably get punched in the nose by the 5th person. There, I talked to Mark.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I was looking at the comments from Rockefeller.
But absolutely.
Yeah, I was looking at the comments. I was looking at the comments from Rockefeller about what he said about China. And, you know, the starvation that happened there, that's not widely known. The Chinese government has very effectively covered that up. Just now, some researchers in China are going through and uncovering some of these things. There's no such thing as Freedom of Information Act in China. So that's not very widely covered. But as you said, the Holocaust, what Hitler did, that is not only well understood, but it's iconic. It's what people talk about. I mean, you talk about making the trains run on time or you know, taking people to the showers or whatever. That's what people refer to when you talk about you know, tyranny. Hitler is the template for that. So you would expect people in California to know that.
I wear 1984 shirts out, and people come over and say, "What does 1984 mean?" I wear 1776 shirts out, and people come over and say, "What does that mean?" And I've worn the Gadsden flag yellow "Don't Tread on Me" shirt, and I've had white people, black folks, and Hispanics come over and ask me. Wow. The last time I was in a steakhouse at a company meeting waiting for the crew to get there at the bar, and a black guy came over and he goes, "What does that shirt mean?" And I said, "Well, it's the Gadsden flag, Don't Tread on Me, Revolutionary War." And he goes, "Yeah, I heard that's a racist Tea Party thing." Like he was going to guilt me and then I was going to apologize about it or something. Everybody's looking for these phantoms of racism or oppression. Meanwhile, we have mega banks sucking $85 billion a month out of U.S. taxpayer money, and they won't even tell Congress who's getting it. And then meanwhile, everybody's looking for phantoms of racism. I saw a video we posted about transhumanist death cult at the Bilderberg meeting this year. They've got all this transhumanist art of humans being killed and then being turned into machines, basically, or machines overtaking humans. Not humans merging with machines, but humans having their humanity rotting away, and it's replaced with machine. And she was wearing Native American, because I know I bought my wife some of it, you know, vintage Thunderbird earrings of the Thunderbird. That's a mythical bird. And people are like, "It's Nazi, it's Nazi, it's Nazi." And again, the reason I mention the trolls is not to mention the trolls, to mention the mass mental illness. It's kind of like Mike Judge said on the show that one of the characters, Dale on the show, never sees the big conspiracy right in front of him that's actually going on, like his wife has had a kid with, speaking of the Native American, the Native American neighbor, but then he thinks everything that isn't a conspiracy is a conspiracy. And actually talking to Mike Judge, he picked up on some of that watching my Access TV show 17, 18 years ago, that people never wanted to face the real stuff I was talking about. They always wanted to talk about things that couldn't be proven or that were kooky.
You can always shut it down by calling it a conspiracy. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and we've got Alex Jones live from Watford, UK, covering the Bilderberg. And he's got some new breaking information there. Alex, can you hear me?
Absolutely, and it's in the next hour that I'm going to delve really into Bilderberg on breaking news, inside info, massive press coverage, so much more. And then there's all this other news as we learn how the Democrats have persecuted any libertarian, conservative, or pro-life group while protecting themselves using illegal emails in the government. That's a felony, violating the Open Records Act. Just scores of laws. That's why the whole EPA head had to resign. Was over using a secret email account. And giving herself a royal code name. So we're going to be getting into all that. The fake chemical weapons they say Assad has. We're going to be breaking it all down in the next hour. But I wanted to just spend a few minutes here thanking the listeners and the viewers and all of our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. All of our local AM and FM affiliates, please support their local sponsors. If you're a business, become a sponsor, supporting the free speech, supporting our hardcore info. The fact that this broadcast is getting picked up by so many stations and is becoming so successful is an indicator of the great awakening that's happening, because the show is hardcore. I mean, I listen to rebroadcasts sometimes and it sounds crazy, and then I think about it and I go, no, but it's really true what we're saying. Wow, there's no way I can sugarcoat this or water this down. In fact, most of the time it's even worse than what I'm saying. So please support our local AM and FM affiliates. Also, tell XM why you subscribe. Listen to us on XM and tell them to pick up all 3 hours, not just 2 hours. And please support InfoWarsStore.com, the T-shirts, the books, the films, the Seed Center with the best non-GMO, open-pollinated, natural, organic seeds, InfoWarsStore.com. And we're only running this till the end of Bilderberg. And again, in fact, I need to talk to Weldon today. He was telling me yesterday that he thinks we have to stop selling for a while because they're going to sell out of the Traveler. I mean, the factory just is running out of them. But they have the other bigger units. So check InfoWarsStore.com. 15% off on the ProPure water filtration system. Blows away all the competition. Promo code WATER15. WATER15. We've done this once before about a year ago, and the filter sold out in 2 weeks. And that's what's happening again here. That's why I don't really like doing this special, because it's so successful that then we can't sell them for a few weeks. But the point is that they've got them in stock still. InfoWarsStore.com, promo code WATER15, promo code WATER15, InfoWarsStore.com. And the reason they all sell out is it really is the lowest price out there anywhere. We already have it at the lowest price just regularly. Then we have 10% off, and then now 15% off. Water 15, stop drinking the poison fluoride, start drinking purified water like the globalists do. Try to stop eating as much GMO like the globalists do. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. They are not doing what they tell us to do, and this is one of the most important things you can do. If you already have a ProPure and love it, give a gift to friends and family and tell them, tell them how easy it is to use. It takes about a minute to assemble. So again, ladies and gentlemen, that is InfoWarsStore.com. That's InfoWarsStore.com, promo code WATER15, or call toll-free 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. And lastly, you heard Mike Adams, who's a big prepper, kind of off the record, I guess now he talks about it. He goes out shooting with us and stuff. The point is, he loves Infidel body armor. I saw it, thought it was great. We went out and got them. So many of our sponsors, I tell the sales guys, I want them because they're so great. Go to Infidel Body Armor, InfidelBodyArmor.com, one word, InfidelBodyArmor.com, or you can also call them at 800-409-56. That's the number for eFoodsDirect.com, which is another great sponsor making this broadcast possible, InfidelBodyArmor.com. David Knight, you actually have the phone number there for Infidel Body Armor, don't you? Can you give that to people?
That's right. It's 888-608-6605. This stuff is great. I've got it right here in the studio. I mean, it is incredibly heavy. This is amazing armor.
Absolutely. This is the kind of armor you generally would use in your house or in place or when driving in a vehicle. All right, coming up in the next segment, when some stations join us, I'm going to get into the latest Bilderberg news in detail. What we've been witnessing, the press coverage, and some really important inside information that I've been able to receive. So that is coming up. I'm coming to you from just northwest of London in Watford, just about a mile away from the Grove Hotel. We were thrown out of there last night. I'm going to talk about that coming up. I'm also going to talk about Stonehenge. I went to Stonehenge today. And let me tell you, I thought it would be overrated. Not overrated. And I'm going to tell you about that coming up, or maybe I shouldn't. But it was definitely very interesting. very like a magnetic vortex. I mean, I think it's scientific, not spiritual. I mean, I was like walking up going, oh, big deal. And I was like, buzz. I mean, it was, and the guy's like, oh, the tour guide goes, oh, I noticed you just walked across the ley line. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow. I mean, I liken it to when there was a Faraday cage at the Mid-American Museum outside Hot Springs, Arkansas. I shot video of this, played it on the nightly news. It's on YouTube. And when they turned it on, even though we were in the bleachers 30 yards away and it was inside a Faraday cage, my hair stood up. I felt electric, but it kind of felt assaulting, like bad energy. You know, it felt, you know, kind of tingly and weird. This was incredibly positive. And obviously they don't let you get near the stones now. There's 1 million people plus a year ago there. I just wanted to go grab and touch those things. And again, I wasn't expecting anything. I'm like, oh, big deal. I've seen big ruins. I've seen big pyramids in Mexico. I've seen it all. Big deal. This is overblown. And so we're just walking up the thing. I'm on the phone talking to the office going, let's get this ready. I'm like, whoa. And man, it's amazing. So I kind of already told the story, but I'll tell that at the bottom of the next hour when Leanne McAdoo and Paul Watson are here. They all felt it. Reeves felt a little bit. The tour guide said, unfortunately, he doesn't have the magnetite or whatever it is in his brain. He's because that's what scientists think it is. As fish and other things have it. Some humans have higher deposits of it. They're not exactly sure about the science, but it's how birds use you know, magnetic lines to fly south. It's how bugs know how to migrate, stuff like that. And he said he wishes he had it. But he said, in fact, he said it was strange that 3 of a party of 4 had it, as he said. And he said he's not even a religious person. You know, he was like an atheist professor guy that works out there. But he said definitely it's a magnetic vortex. All right. I already kind of told the story. That's the thing about my show. I don't really build stuff up unless I'm not ready to cover it yet. I'm kind of focusing my mind to be able to go over all the facts. But David Knight, do you have any comments about Stonehenge before we come back and get into Bilderberg?
Yeah, I have a personal story. We went there in 1980. My wife and I went there, and she's always remembered that. We pulled up, and it was before they had the fences out there, and we just pulled up in the middle of January. It's very, very cold, very bleak. Got out of the bus, drove off, and we were the only ones there. And it just really scared her. You know, I'm kind of from an engineering background. I'm like looking at this, well, how did they build that? How did they do this and that? But she was just totally creeped out about it. She didn't feel the magnetic thing that you felt, but when we came back, she would always tell people, I'd talk about Stonehenge, and she'd say, oh, it was horrible. There was no Place to hide. And, you know, no place to hide. And then one of our friends said,
I'm going back.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm going back, okay? I'm going to go move by that thing. I mean, I felt so energized. I felt like I was 18 again.
Wow.
And I hate to get into mumbo jumbo, folks. I'm telling you, it was real. I was like, whoa.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, she was just freaked out by the place, and she didn't even really know the full background of it.
It feels like a presence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, maybe that's what she was feeling, but it really did spook her. Really did spook her out. She said there was no place to hide, and that's what our friend said. It's like, yeah, when I go someplace, the first thing I'm looking for is some place to hide. So.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. My mother said she liked it. So did my dad, and said she could feel the presence of the place. It's more than that. It's you walk. Look.
Well,
it's like sticking your finger in a light socket. It's like you walk over this line.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back, Alex.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now 8 minutes into the second or third hour of the worldwide broadcast. I tell you, it takes some getting used to being 6 hours ahead of Central Time, 5 hours ahead of Mountain Time. But we are broadcasting worldwide. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Again, I am your host, Alex Jones. And if you're a new listener, we have traveled to London, England, to the rural suburbs northwest of there, to Watford, to cover the massive anti-globalist, massive anti-New World Order, massive anti-world government protests that are going to be happening. And there is unprecedented coverage of this. It officially kicks off Thursday and runs through to the end of Sunday evening. Some of them go home Sunday evening, others go home Monday. I will be here until Monday, riding shotgun back in the States
Coming to you from Austin, Texas, is David Knight of Infowars Nightly News, and I've been able to listen via the free iPhone app when we were driving through traffic back and listening to the show. Sounds great, and it's just great to have people like David Knight that can, just come from a engineering background, but also doing some advocacy work, exposing global warming as a fraud and all that. To have him step in and be doing a big national show like this. So hats off to David right there in the studio. Now, let me get into the news here. First, let's look at drudgereport.com, and then I'll get into our inside news and information. Center column of drudgereport.com has the mainstream news coverage of this, and also Infowars.com coverage of it. And the fact that you've got Business Insider, International Business Times, BBC, London Guardian, Sky Television, and dozens and dozens. I mean, usually every morning I type in Bilderberg and click news on the search engine to see, and it's usually about 15, 16 articles a day lately. Now it was over 50 today. And it's been on television here locally, on Channel 4, on Sky, on BBC, because I've been talking to the activists. They've been seeing it. So this is very, very exciting that, again, a group that didn't exist, I keep repeating this, we were crazy, we were insane. New York Times just 4 years ago said I'm insane, that I was just running around in a parking lot imagining black cars and men in sunglasses following us, that kind of stuff. But now they're discredited. People are saying, wait, there are a group of 100 and really 50 plus now. They've expanded it. Royalty, business leaders, billionaires, Bill Gates, the head of Microsoft, the head of Google, the head of Facebook, meeting with global regulators from EU regulators, antitrust regulators from the US, EU, England, you name it, are there. I mean, okay. But they're like, we don't discuss an agenda. We just have 2 speeches that are an hour long apiece, and that's it. Well, yeah, and then everybody meets and creeps out to their rooms or goes out on the golf course. Then they want to fence up and no cameras or no press, and people try to sneak in. Because for those that don't know about politics, we have laws throughout history that corporate insiders cannot meet with government regulators in secret. Now, why is that? Because then how do you make money as a steel maker or a car maker or a computer maker or a telecommunications company or a manufacturing company? You don't make it making the best product anymore. You make it going and shutting down your competition. And all the groups that are at Bilderberg, other than maybe like Peter Thiel, are all about monopoly capitalism, insiders controlling everything. And I'm not even saying Thiel's a great guy either. He funds a lot of libertarians. He supported Ron Paul and stuff, which I see as good work. And he made his money himself, so he's like, well, hey, don't take it from me in taxes. But these other big globalists that are there, they're the ones lobbying on record to have taxes raised on the middle class and on poor people, to give it to them in banker bailouts and too big to fail corporate welfare. And so that's my issue. And these are the people lobbying that they be above the law globally, that they be able to get away with anything. So here are some of the articles up at drudgereport.com. And again, it's a big deal. Drudge, we knocked big hole. Jim Tucker discovered the dam. Well, he'd tell you Westbrook Pegler discovered it, but didn't know what it was. He was like, what is that? And then Tucker said, that's a dam of info. And there's a group meeting, a cabal that's at the very top illegally. And he helped expose us. There were Lockheed Martin investigations and indictments of politicians, or the Prince of the Netherlands getting millions of dollars every time his country bought planes from the U.S. at a price that was too high, and he got a kickback. Just all sorts of basic hardcore corruption. Because of Tucker, then the group existed. People knew it existed. They found out what the Prince was doing there. They found out he was getting money, and so that was when it was first in some European papers. That's why they don't want to be known to exist, because it's just crime going on, hand over fist in there for 3 days, just deals being made. And yeah, they've got other meetings where they do this too. They break off at Davos and do this. They break off at the UN building and go to hotels and do this. But this is where they get one big group of these people together, and it's at the top of the pyramid. It doesn't mean it's the whole capstone, but it's a big chunk of it. And now it's merging with Google. But let me get into, and going with this whole technocracy angle, let me get into the news that's up here, because it's a big deal that Pegler discovered the dam. Tucker, began to point out that we should knock holes in it. Infowars.com and our bigger audience rammed the first big holes in it. Drudge dynamited it and just blew the whole thing out. Because before it was just some big holes. And now the floods come down, and they were saying, there's no water behind that. There's no insiders. There's no smoking room. There's no tyranny behind that. Now it's flooded out. They're going, what's the big deal? We've got a reservoir. We've got a lake. You know, they're just, hey, okay, they said there was water behind that. But big deal. It's no big deal. There's water here. Except it's not water. It's tyranny. And it's insider cronyism, and it's globalist. I mean, we've gotten the minutes of Bilderberg. WikiLeaks has some of them. They've confirmed they're real. We will take over criminally, violate, the illegal we do now. I can't do a good Kissinger. The other stuff, unconstitutional, takes longer. They hate the constitutions, Magna Carta, Bill of Rights, the old constitutions that people fought for in European countries. They had some good constitutions. They're all gone now, and Bilderberg brags they set up the euro. And I could go on with their exploits of evil. I could go on with how truly infamous they are. I could go on with how I've been death threatened and my family's been death threatened. Well, how do you know it's Bilderberg? It's people that know how to listen to your phone line and call you and tell you that they were just listening. And they do it only when you're having a traumatic event. Like if I hear a family member's had a car wreck or is in the hospital having heart surgery, I go, okay, I'm going to get the call. Like, you know, they're waiting, psych warfare, okay, they're all emotional right now, make the phone call. They're listening all the time. It's either the NSA or GSGQ or whatever it is, or the private contractors, over 800,000 individuals in the U.S. that are hooked into all this, that they're just on it listening. You know, I mean, this is, if you don't have privacy, you don't have freedom. Any free creature, the more advanced a life form on this planet is, naturalists will tell you this, and scientists, environmental biologists will tell you, the more advanced the life form, the more aware it is of its environment. That's the mark of an advanced life form. And they tell you, don't be informed, don't be involved, don't look at these photos from the Boston bombing, don't look at the drill, don't ask questions. The way you survive is not asking questions, not being informed. The way you survive is rolling over and dying. So that said, here's some of the headlines. Bilderberg sets up unofficial press office for first time in 59-year history. And Charlie Skelton's over there. We need to get over there. He's been calling us all day. Max Kaiser's calling in to be on the show later in the week. David Icke's going to be in here. It's going to be just absolutely jam-packed Thursday and Friday here on the broadcast. We're going to get Skelton on. They've been trying to get us over to that. So that's a article here. And we're going to get to that in a moment, more detail. And then we've got no-fly zone enacted over meeting. Well, actually, the cops told us off record, but we can say it just off record who said it, and I'm meeting with one of the head cops tonight for dinner, that no, we believe terrorists are probably going to strike. That's the breaking news, is that they're like, we believe this is a target, and we've gotten unspecified, threats that this could be like a Bilderberg person calls in the thing, like in Switzerland. They don't never mind this famous voice. It's not Henry Kissinger. It is going to be an attack. And so, and of course, I'm joking. There's not going to be an attack. I'm quoting the hypothetical attacks, but they're using that to erect this big steel fence. Let me give them a little heads up. I'm going to be dropping back by again. We got thrown out last night. I'm going to have the crew in here in a minute to tell you about that. That was quite a service. We go and we're eating dinner in there, and the head manager comes in and is just shaking, turning red.
Alex, I'm thinking that maybe that no-fly zone might be so that you don't put up some kind of a surveillance drone on them. Don't you think, maybe?
Yes, callers kept calling in going, put a drone up, put a drone up. And we had actually planned that, but just a little RC or something. But it'd be mainly a media stunt because they like something to focus on.
That's right. That's right. That could be why they've got that there.
But now they've got guys in boats out there with poles, like looking in the water for a meeting that doesn't exist and doesn't have any power and doesn't matter. So absolutely. So you've got that article on drudgereport.com, middle column, fifth story down. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. No fly zone enacted over meeting. What are they doing in there? Charlie Skelton article out of the London Guardian. It's all up there. The week ahead, Bilderberg 2013 comes to the Grove Hotel, Watford. And coming up, we're going to look at the agenda, which actually is written to be dry, but it's cryptic when you know what the agenda really means. But really the big breaking news here is this. They are completely freaked out and have threatened to fire people that are managers at the hotel if any photos even get out. From a distance. So the hotel is putting pressure on the local police who we've talked to, who really know their stuff. And actually, if they aren't listeners, they're Academy Award winners because they really know their stuff. And I mean, they really have shown that they understand what this group's doing. They're having pressure by the mayor. I don't want to say, we're going to go to break here in a moment and come back with this, but they've had pressure by the mayor, who's put down any protesting or demonstrating or media, to basically shut everybody down. And the police basically quietly are not going along with all of this. We had the Grove calling police on us last night and the day before, and the police wouldn't do anything for the G46, or what's it called, Watson? G4S. Yeah, G4S security. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Thank you so much for joining us. Paul Watson is coming up in the next segment with Leanne McAdoo. You can see the pages after pages of notes he's got here of inside intel that we've been gleaning and gathering, and I'm so hyper I can't ever even get to any of it. And we're going to tell you about our Stonehenge experience coming up as well just hours ago. But continuing here with why this is such a big deal, I've talked to multiple insiders. I'll just leave it at that. Inside the hotel, you name it. They're totally freaked out that we have all these insiders. Because now, just last night, being in the hotel, we walked around on the grounds while the G4S security, which is all over England, it's one of the biggest security companies in the world, was going along with heavy equipment, putting up these giant concrete blocks that look like they weighed about, let's not exaggerate, a ton apiece, with a big metal pole out of them, putting up steel grating about 10 feet tall. They were putting this up all the way around the hotel, and we were walking around like we owned the place. So we're going up, talking to security, getting photos, discussing everything. And then as it gets dark, we go into the hotel restaurants. They have 3 of them, and one of them was full. He said, go to this other one. So we go to this other one. It's all packed full of people. We sit down. The waiter comes over and is looking at me. I could tell he knew who I was, but I didn't say anything. He just learned that, that look. I go over to get food, and a female worker, I'm not going to describe her in case they know who she is. She comes over and she goes, I just want to say we appreciate in a British voice what you're doing with your team, all of you. And we're going to have, and I'll talk to you later. And she goes off. So then it's a buffet at this particular restaurant. So then I get down to the end, and another person, a gentleman, comes over. Again, I won't describe him. And he goes, actually, maybe I shouldn't even tell these stories. But the point is, it doesn't matter. They know half their crew's listeners anyways. It freaks them out, and he tells me, how did you even get in here? They run us through the ringer to even get in the building every day. Well, we waltz in like we own the place, just like the global crime syndicate does. They rob the world, but do it like they're doing a favor and have red carpets to get awards for doing it. Thank you for $85 billion of your money a month. We saved the economy. It's you who are lazy, not paying enough, when almost all the tax money goes to these fat cats. And they're busy trying to destroy the economy so their wealth has more value. They don't just steal it. They didn't want to ruin us, so they're the only ones with any money. I mean, if they're going to steal from me, at least come back and spend it with me. I mean, it's like, but see, they're so evil, they get that. If they steal it, then spend it, we might be okay. They want it, they're totally greedy, man. I mean, this is absolutely out of control. It's the old saying of, you can do you know what to me, but you can't rub it in. I mean, this is just completely out of control. So we shoot the video that's on Infowars.com, transhumanist death cult, Bilderberg to meet at the Grove, and we show all those statues and things. And then we go inside, and all of a sudden, Richard was at the buffet, and security comes and says, come with us right now or you'll be arrested. Well, Richard, kind of nicely went out in the hallway to not make a scene to talk to him, and they threaten him and, throw him out. And then they come back to us, and I'm now at the table, and the manager comes over, the head security, and he goes, and he had like tears in his eyes. He goes, Mr. Jones, Mr. Watson, leave now. Come with me into the other area. And I said, well, hey, give me the bill. And I'm going to pay for the food we've got and stuff here. And there's some video of that, too, online. And he wouldn't do that. He said, no, you're going to leave now. So we left, even though we were registered there, and they canceled it and were rude about it and had the general manager of the whole it's just incredible. We drove in, parked, went in, and they act like we're the criminals while it's these globalists. Now, through our moles, we were able to confirm that the police have been told by the higher-ups in the city and MI6 and MI5 that are all already there, but more of them arriving tomorrow and Thursday, that a terror attack is imminent. I mean, we don't have any proof of it. It's like Bush with the fake terror alerts. It came out they would issue fake terror alerts as a political distraction. Ari Fleischer had admitted that, and so did others. Tom Ridge admitted that they would issue terror alerts for political distractions. So that's what they're doing here, is they're saying, we believe this is a terror target. We believe that there's non-specific evidence of, and I was talking to one cop. I guess that's because a week ago somebody chopped somebody's head off, and the Muslim population is stirred up. That was probably a real event, so maybe they'll be drawn to this. So I guess in some weird fantasy, I guess there is some low probability that it could be a magnet or something, for some real crazy. But when we come back, Paul Watson will break down the real breaking info and some more of the articles that are up on Infowars.com. And then Leanne McAdoo will give you her take on this and so much more straight ahead. It's Bilderberg coverage from London, 2013. I tell you, I'm your man. You win some, lose some. It's all the same to me. Well, not really. I will gamble on liberty every time, because it's not a gamble at all. It may look like a gamble. I don't go gamble at casinos. I gamble my life, my name, my honor, my treasure on liberty, because it's animating. The animating contest of liberty, the fire that seethes in the minds of men. That's what life's all about, really living, really being strong, trying to empower others, trying to teach others, trying to have others teach you, building upwards and onwards. That's what it's all about. We have massive breaking Bilderberg news that we've got to get in written form. Remember, it's like 7 o'clock at night. What, 7:34? Yeah. We got to meet with the police in about an hour. I'm going to do a little bit overdrive, though. And all of this is going on, and history is happening. History is happening, ladies and gentlemen, where we're recognizing stuff that people in other countries know is obvious, but the West got so naive because we were the good guys. We're not like those corrupt third world countries. We don't have those problems. There's no shadowy guys behind the scenes trying to influence the centers of power. No, there's no fish swimming in the ocean. Of course, powerful elites are trying to influence things. Of course, that's going on. And so if you go to Infowars.com right now, we have the live coverage linked at the Bilderberg area of the site, Infowars.com /Bilderberg or Infowars.com/B. Please send that address out to everybody you know. Tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm not sure when, we're going to publish the Bilderberg demonstration battle plan, or the Bilderberg exposure battle plan. We already published the maps in an article last week. We're going to publish them, where we've been, where we think the best vantage points. One reason Paul hasn't gotten the article out yet, go ahead and grab that, sorry I dropped it, is that we've now reconnaissanced it several times ourselves. I want to go back tonight and run another reconnaissance on this. And obviously I'm telling them that we're coming, because when they show up like idiots, all acting scared of us, it's better kind of like production quality. What do they call that in that movie, Super 8, where the kid wants to shoot the scene with a train coming by? And he goes, it's production value, to have these idiots running around in the background. The point is, literally, these security guys like jump at us like we're going to grow 18-foot fangs and eat them. You've got your whole list here, but I want to be able to mark a map and then screenshot that, like where we think the best vantage points are for people to get shots. And then again, that'll give the police a place to go try to stop them, but it won't matter. It's such a giant perimeter. But it's mainly on that backside entrance where you get the shots into the helicopter pad and where they're going to be at, Watson. So I want to talk to you about that. The problem is we've got too many ideas, too much victory to be able to kind of have all the victories. But why is Amazon's Jeff Bezos attending the 2013 Bilderberg conference? It's all how they get out of taxes. And whereas I'm in the defense, not having to pay internet sales taxes to get it, it's still, they're only doing it from their position. He's not lobbying for me to be able to keep my money and spend it as I see fit and have a free market economy where my voting with my money, my dollars, my pounds, my euros, my shekels, rins, yawns, then has an effect that builds the world that individual ideas want to build. It has to be what the Bilderberg Group and the UN and the globalists want to build. But Bilderberg's 60-year trajectory exposed, powerful article up on Infowars.com. No-fly zone enacted over Bilderberg meeting. Michael Savage on danger of Bilderberg 2013 and New World Order. Good job to Michael Savage coming in for the big win, joining the team. Bilderberg authoritarianism destroys humanity. Bilderberg security kicks out Alex Jones. Bilderberg 2013 transhumanist death cult. Amazon and Google chiefs join with corporate tax avoiders at annual Bilderberg confab. That's just some of the news, and all the other world news is under that at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. But without further ado, I want to bring Paul Watson in, native of Britannia, to give us his take, and so much breaking news, so much inside info, and also to get into what you thought of being thrown out of the hotel last night, and of course the day before you were also thrown out by them, even though you were booked there. We're coming back today as well, so just the fact that we're telling them we're coming, we'll have even more security out. It'll be easier to penetrate that way. They don't understand terminology of strategy. But Watson, I will stop my perseveration. Give me your general take on how big this is, the breaking news.
Well, what's interesting?
Hold on, they just lost me? Okay.
Back at, just came back.
We are back live here. Thank you, guys. Go ahead.
Yeah, some of the breaking news just came out in the last hour is the fact that the mayor of Watford, after first calling us, insinuating that we were...
You got to speak up and get closer to the mic, or we need to turn the mic up. And in fact, should we go to break and come back with this, or are we good? Okay, just turn him up. Go ahead.
Yeah, the mayor of Watford has come out and said that basically she's written a letter to the Prime Minister David Cameron after first insinuating that we were violent extremists, and she's now demanding that they account for the expenses, the millions of pounds in taxpayer expenses that this security operation is going to cost. And this is also after a prominent politician here locally came out and basically said the same thing. So for the first time, it seems a Prime Minister of Britain is going to have to address the Bilderberg meeting because, of course, Tony Blair lied in front of Parliament saying he never attended the meeting, whereas in private he told Luke Radowski that he did. So it looks like David Cameron is going to have to address the fact that Bilderberg actually exists, is a real meeting of 120 of the world's power brokers, and the Watford mayor, after first demonising us, now appears to be on our side, and they're asking for answers.
Because how dare us want to know about what's going on?
Well, exactly. I mean, this ring of steel that you talked about to protect, you know, us from them, to protect them from us, whatever you want to look at it. It's amazing because they've got actual criminals who were over the LIBOR scandal. They've got HSBC people fined for laundering money for terrorists and drug lords.
What's wrong with laundering money and running drugs and terrorists? And I mean, what's wrong with fixing interest rates?
So, yeah, and, you know, Peter Sutherland responsible for the subprime mortgage collapse. So we've got actual financial criminals who are laundering money for terrorists and drug lords. And, you know,
no wonder they don't want to be looked at.
And yet we're the threat. Why are we the threat? They're the threat to us. So why have they spent all this money erecting this ring of steel to protect them from us? We should be being protected.
Well said, Watson.
Another thing is they're discussing big data at Bilderberg this year, which basically means creating the surveillance database system, spying on social media.
Yeah, I need to get into the agenda. That's the big thing I was supposed to cover.
The agenda, yeah.
That's the secret ingredient of Eggs Erroneous.
But at the same time, Alex, the DHS over in America is talking about the exact same thing, big data. They use that very same term.
Because they create the talking points and then hand them down to the minions, but then the talking point has compartmentalization within it.
Precisely. So, you know, Google, Bilderberg, DHS, they're all very much on the same page in the exact same week, talking about the same issues. It's amazing.
Watson, continue with what happened last night. Describe that.
Basically, we went up to the Grove Hotel again. It was my third visit. It was Alex's first visit, obviously, because he only landed yesterday. We walked around the grounds, took some pictures of the gardens, the skeleton statue. We tried to go and eat at a separate restaurant that's near the back of the property, quite out of the way. That was full. So we were directed to go to the main restaurant, which is right next to reception in the actual hotel itself. We got in, we sat down literally within 10, 15 minutes. the security were on us. First, they kidnapped Richard Reeves. He suddenly disappeared, and Leanne told me that they'd taken him away. At that point, Alex was out getting dinner because it was a
like
buffet.
in a fancy restaurant with like violin music playing. Like guys grab Reeves, he disappears.
But before that, several members of the hotel staff actually came up to Alex and said, you know, we're fans, we support what you're doing. So they're aware of it, which is why the security is so scared of us being there in case we get sources out of the hotel staff.
And wait till the Bilderberg guys are so rude to them, they'll all be on our side. Hillary's like, don't you look in my eyes, you bastard. I've talked to Tucker and others that have talked to multiple witnesses, and then she'll have them fired if they look at her. And those memos got leaked like 15 years ago. You don't look at her.
Precisely, and I mean, a lot of these people are billionaires, and yet routinely we hear from the hotel staff at these Bilderberg meetings that they don't tip. They don't tip at all, even though they're billionaires. So that's why the staff at all the hotels get really, you know, pissed off with these Bilderberg members, and then later they leak information to Jim Tucker, God rest his soul, now other people who are taking over. So, yeah, basically we were in there. Richard Reeves got kidnapped. I came back to sit down. Alex was out getting the buffet dinner. They went obviously shoveling carrots down my throat. They went to get Alex. They went to speak to Alex, told us to leave. They then came to the table, told me to leave. And basically, we said, no, we want to finish dinner. You know, we're going to pay for it.
Yeah, let's be clear. They grabbed Richard. They all came around me, and I said, no. And then waddled back over with my food. And I kept eating it while they were standing around the table with all these people looking at us. Describe that.
Yeah, apparently all the people around us would, you know, they were aware what was going on. Some of them, they knew we were media. And these security guys were just kind of hanging out outside a door that was 5 feet away from our table.
They were also at the table.
They were at the table. Then we said, no, we want to finish our dinner. So they were hanging out behind the door, peering through the window. And we were just sat there trying to finish this dinner, which we were going to pay for, including an expensive bottle of wine. We did manage to finish probably half of it. And then we picked up the cell phones, started rolling the cameras, and started walking outside and talking to these security personnel again.
But the head of security literally was shaking and had tears in his eyes.
Well, that's what he looked like the first time when me and Richard went there. And I mean, I don't know why he's so concerned. All we're doing is eating dinner.
Eating carrots.
Shoveling carrots down our throats, taking some pictures of a garden. What possible threat is it to their security?
No, but I mean, it's okay if you rob the whole world. Just don't eat carrots.
Yes. You can launder money for terrorists and drug lords, but just don't eat
carrots. You can put
carrots.
Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria, but just whatever you do, don't have a Chianti and carrots.
Exactly. Don't take picture of the skeleton statue. So basically, we were talking to them, we were filming them. They escorted us outside. Eventually, we got in the car. We were talking to them the whole way. We started driving out of the property. We were followed by a security guard in a separate car behind us, who then did some weird thing where he kept reversing and almost crashing into the side of the path. Because me and Alex got out of the car at the exit.
No, he was menacing our van with his back of his truck.
Yeah.
And then he like ran into something up again. That was ridiculous.
So then me and Alex got out of the vehicle while Richard and Leanne drove away in the bus, in the car. And apparently the police soon arrived after that in the general vicinity and were pulling over other individuals which they may have mistaken for us. We're not sure about that, but that could have been what was happening. But, you know, the police turned up at the hotel last time when me and Richard were there and did nothing. They turned up outside, got out of the police car and just walked around to a different side of the building. So the police don't seem to be too keen in getting involved.
Well, no, I've talked to our sources. They were just told, they were basically told a BS story last night. Then we rolled down the window and talked to them.
Yeah.
They didn't stop us.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so they don't want to be involved. The whole deal is they get it, they don't like it, and they're like, why don't they have their own security? We don't have to sit here and treat everybody like criminals.
Exactly.
So that's what's going on that front. We're going to go to break in a few minutes and come back with a final segment in the main show with Leanne McAdoo, and then I'm going to continue with Bilderberg News 2013. And again, we've got some other major breaking news as well. I need to analyze their agenda, because this agenda that you're going to hear is what you're now, for the next year, going to hear over and over again. There's an article, Bilderberg's 60-year trajectory, up on Infowars.com, that is so incredibly important because it explains. See, if you don't study, you're like, who cares if 150 people are being in a hotel? when you realize this is one of their big secret meetings at the top of the pyramid that has been unearthed. And I use this analogy with David Icke yesterday because I've watched Discovery Channel shows or History Channel shows like all of you have. All the time out in the Sahara Desert or even in Yucatan, Mexico, or Guatemala, south of there, or in places in Peru, they'll be doing a construction site or building a dam. And someone will notice something sticking up out of the rubble, a spire, and they start digging, and there's a whole palace under it. And that's what's happened. Bilderberg is a key part of the palace of the New World Order, the Fortress of Darkness. But now we've dug away more and more, and it just gets worse and worse. It's like a police investigation. I've used the analogy of finding one body in a guy's car. That's Bilderberg. You find the dead woman in the back seat or in the trunk, and they go to his house, and there's 30 dead people. They're in refrigerators. They're buried in the basement. They're in the backyard. You know, it's like Jeffrey Dahmer. That's how it is. That's why they're like, don't look at us. There's nothing going on. We don't exist. Okay, we exist, but we're no big deal. Because we've gotten their minutes. People have stolen the minutes. It's come out. Bilderberg group members have bragged and published books like the German Chancellor Helmut Schmidt back in the 80s. And he's like, what's wrong with world government? Yeah, we're going to take over and merge with machines and bring in world government. I mean, why not? It's the next hip thing. And I don't even think Helmut Schmidt's an evil guy. You know, it's kind of like Carroll Quigley. He goes, I believe in world government. And I believe in, you know, getting rid of the family and setting up a planetary rule. I mean, if we don't, someone else will. I mean, might as well be us in charge. I mean, everybody deserves to live a little. I mean, you know you want to be part of it. Come on. You can join the team. It's like a quote out of They Live. Remember that part where he goes, glad to see you got here, boys. Might need to get yourself a little bit fancier duds now that you're on the team. Good to have you here. Haven't got one of these little watches yet? They're great for communication, but also disappearing if you want to. I mean, have you ever seen They Live, McAdoo? It's based, that whole movie is an allegory where Rowdy Piper has to beat up his black friend, forget what his name is in the film, to make him put the glasses on. Because it's so easy. You put the glasses on, you start looking at what's really going on in the world. You pay attention, and let me tell you, you're going to see so much, you get a headache and want to take the glasses off. That's another allegory, is that I've tried to get the guy that wrote that essay back in the 60s on, but he's pretty reclusive. That was written in the 60s, They Live. And you take the glasses off, you know, because he's giving you a headache. You know, seeing, the truth is seeing is a headache too. But it's better than being a total slave, living in absolute and complete la-la land. So we've got other big breaking news. I've got news so big that I haven't even gotten to it yet because it's only about 90% confirmed, and I'm still jostling and dealing with it and trying to figure out how to even put it out. More news breaking at Infowars.com. More news breaking at PrisonPlanet.com. Nightly news coming up tonight that'll have a whole boil down of this, 7 o'clock Central at PrisonPlanet.tv. If you're not a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber, one membership, $5.95 a month, is 11 memberships. That's 55 cents or less a person. Get a membership at PrisonPlanet.tv. Give it as an e-gift today and support our InfoWar. We'll be back with Leanne McAdoo straight ahead. We're here in London. It's Bilderberg 2013. I am your host, Alex Jones, and this is the GCN Radio Network, GCNlive.com.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. We've got Alex live from England. I'm David Knight, and he's going to be joining us there in just a second. We're going to go to him. He's got Leanne McAdoo and Paul Joseph Watson are there talking about what they've been seeing at Bilderberg. It's live there at Watford, England, just north side of London. But the interesting context of what's going on here is from an article by The Guardian, a UK newspaper. Talks about the irony of Bilderberg happening at the same time that there is a massive scandal unfolding in the UK over lobbyists. That's right. Just like in America, lobbyists who come in and talk to politicians have very strict rules about when they can meet and the disclosure of these meetings and that sort of thing. And yet, in the midst of this giant scandal that's involving members from every one of the political parties there, pretty much, or not the UKIP party as far as I understand, it's just amazing that while this is all happening, you've got Bilderberg, where the most powerful people are meeting in secret surrounded by security, private and public security, for nearly a week, and no one is allowed to know what they're talking about. There's not going to be any disclosure, no controls, no transparency. This is all happening while there's a major scandal about that very thing happening in the UK Parliament. Alex, are you there?
David, that is amazing what you just said. You know, when I was flying here on Sunday, we talked, or maybe it was Saturday, and you said, obviously you see the big scandal breaking in the news over lobbyists and payoffs in government, and look at how Bilderberg is a giant lobbying meeting. That's why they don't want it looked at. And I just realized that's the real angle in this. This is a giant secret lobbying meeting going on during England's biggest lobbying scandal ever with, what is it, 3 or 4 members of parliament have resigned? How many is it now?
I think it's 3 last I saw. It's almost like you could hold a too big to jail scandal, right?
That's it. That's it. Bilderberg, too big to jail. The lobbying scandal. Watson, you go write that. I'm telling you, because I love David Knight. He points out stuff that's so obvious I've missed it, but also so important. Absolutely, David. And again, we're going to do 30 minutes of overdrive with you and Leanne McAdoo coming up. Some stations carry it. If they don't, we appreciate those stations. They're welcome to pick it up if they want later and air it. Infowars.com/show. or Infowars.com/ Bilderberg has the Ustream, but also our own streams and the audio streams at Infowars.com. We'll have it. And then for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, it'll be restreamed and archived for everybody on YouTube by tomorrow. But just in a few minutes, we're going to come back and go into 30 minutes of overdrive with you on that subject. So huge. He's been clamoring all day. Hey, let's cover this. Let's cover that. Tomorrow, when you do the first hour without me there interrupting you, David, be sure and focus in on this lobbying and that point you just made of all the documents we've got on Bilderberg where they've been in trouble with Lockheed back in the 70s. Indictments and stuff over lobbying. But we're going to break, Leanne McAdoo. But give us a little foretaste of what's coming up. What is your view on what you've seen at Bilderberg and what happened last night in the next minute?
Well, just us walking around this beautiful hotel, it was just, I mean, every inch of it was gorgeous.
All the carved trees.
Yeah, but then it was slowly being shut in by this rim of steel, and that is exactly what the elite want to do. They want everything beautiful, but they want it all for themselves. Shut us out. We can't see. We can't peer in. There's nothing to see here, you know, and it's just incredible. It's like the energy.
The Forbidden City.
Yes, exactly.
What are you going to be talking about the next 30 minutes when we come back?
Well, I would love to talk about the energy of Stonehenge. It was amazing. It felt kind of like a roller coaster ride.
Have you ever felt anything like that?
It was incredible.
Have you ever felt anything like that?
I don't believe so. Not that I could recall. Unless
Did
it's
you
when I
notice
was
how you walked
on a roller
over that
coaster.
ley line, though? And
Yeah. No, it's just you just dipped. Like, woo. Hope you can see that on the video there.
And it's not hype. We were like, oh, here it is. Okay, boring.
No,
It's
exactly.
Like, oh.
Exactly.
Hey, Stonehenge is famous for a reason, and so is Infowars.com. They're full of electricity and life. Stay with us. Transmitting worldwide from high atop the Bilderberg 2013 meeting that we intend to piss on, to use a British term. I am your host, Alex Jones, and I am having an incredibly good time fighting tyranny, waking people up, hanging out with Richard Reeves. You've got Paul Watson, Steve Watson, his brother's waiting down there with his girlfriend. Your wife's coming. That's going to be neat to meet her. I've talked to her so many times on the phone. And then we've got Leanne McAdoo right here with us. There she is. We've got good old Richard right over there.
Safe from the kidnapping.
That's right, for TV viewers, giving a little bit of a shot. We've got Watson right there. And you've got Pumpkinhead. Just notice the size. They say like aliens with advanced intelligence have bigger heads. Notice they have a big head. Look how tiny their heads are compared to me. Look at that. It's like a peanut over there. Look at that. And then they got Corton over there. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that was self-deprecating humor. The trolls will say, look, he's bragging, he's so smart. It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm not smart, but you're not smart enough to get it. Not regular viewers and listeners, but trolls must be fed. Trolls are key pollinators. They actually spread the word of the show. I'm trying to figure out the ultimate troll feeding device. McAdoo, what do you think the ultimate troll feeding device is?
Well, apparently it's been my jewelry today, so.
That's right.
They were
my
all,
God, look at those
they were
Nazi
all,
earrings.
they were all pumped about the Nazi earrings, but they're not. They're
They're so stupid, they
Thunderbirds.
don't know what a Thunderbird is.
Yeah, these are Native American Thunderbirds. These are my going to war earrings.
No, that alone, you're only trying to cover up your Illuminati connections. No one can be successful unless they're in the Illuminati, which is not true, folks. But Watson, what do you think the ultimate troll feeding secret is?
That you're Bill Hicks and I'm a shape-shifting reptoid, and the proof is in. There are whole Facebook pages devoted to it.
Forget the globalist meeting right in front of us. Let's.
You know, that's a real issue, obviously.
Forget the sodium fluoride in the water and the cancer exploding.
Well, no, you're Bill Hicks, obviously.
That's what matters. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to break. Hey, let me ask, we're going to come back and get serious with the rest of the Bilderberg news, go over their agenda, talk to David Knight, who dropped this bombshell, and he's been, like, talking to me. David, was it Friday you called me, or was it at the office I saw you, and you're like, hey, are you covering this big scandal? Was it you?
Yeah, it was me on Sunday just before you left. I said,
that's right. Yeah.
Hey, if they don't let you in, point out the scandals that are going on right amongst their midst and tell them.
And you said
why aren't they looking
exactly.
at this?
Now I remember. It's just my memory's foggy because I've been tired. I was driving to the airport with McAdoo, and you're like, hey, notice this is a lobbying meeting, and there's a scandal about lobbies, and I got it, but I forgot it. And then I'm like, whoa, that's the big angle no one's hitting. That's the big enchilada.
Yeah. The lobbyist, the giant lobbyist meeting that, and they're pointing out in the local papers here that, of course, David Cameron and company said they were going to have the most transparent administration ever. Does that sound familiar? You heard somebody
Obama
say
said
that here?
yeah,
exactly. Obama said that. The people who focus on that, it's almost like a tell. It's almost like saying, you know, we're going to be honest, we're going to be open, because they know they're going to be the most crooked, secretive cabal that's ever been in power, right? So it's almost a tell of exactly the opposite of what they're going to do. It's what they campaign on. What was that?
And I was crushing Leanne's head. You know,
okay.
I'm crushing our head. I'm crushing our head.
I thought you were giving me a secret hand signal or something there.
Well, that was Illuminati. No, seriously, I totally agree with you. You're absolutely right. It's just kind of a party atmosphere here. How are you doing today?
Doing fine. Doing great here.
We're fine here. Everything's great. Nothing about Major Reactor League.
That's right. We're doing okay. We're doing just fine here.
No, but seriously, the Death Star is orbiting at maximum velocity here, and we're here trying to expose the Death Star exists. Because if we can admit the Death Star exists, we can do something about it, David. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I think that's right. You know, the stated purpose of Bilderberg is public education. We're really trying to educate the public. They're trying to keep people in the dark.
David Knight is the main, what do you call it, conductor here today. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2:08 Central Standard Time. I guess it's like 7 o'clock at night here. And in about 20 minutes, we're supposed to meet the cops. Are they already down there? So that's at 7:30? 8:30. We're meeting them at 8:30 for dinner. All right. So we're going to be here for another 25 minutes or so. And, oh, you've got local time on that clock. Good. Thank you. I see 2:08 here on our computer. Paul Watson's here, Leanne McAdoo. We've got Richard Reeves doing engineering here with us on the road. I do plan to take some calls tomorrow. David Knight will do the first hour, then I'll do the second 2 hours with him riding shotgun. I want to get into their agenda this year and then talk about our Stonehenge experience today, which is just crazy. I want to go back to with high-def cameras. We just had our iPhones out today. We weren't intending to have some wild experience. But looking at them just in the last 6 years publishing their names and then now their agenda, looking at this, I want to talk about their agenda. But for people that just joined us, David Knight is the one that pointed out the elephant in the room to me Sunday when I was going to the airport just a few days ago. Or I guess just a few days ago, just like a day and a half ago, that there's a lobbying scandal, 3 or 4 members of parliament resigning, huge corruption. And here, that's what Bilderberg is a secret lobbying meeting, hiding in plain view. And of course, it violates the Logan Act. We've made that point before, but that's why they don't want it discussed. That's why they don't want to be seen driving in, because they can't believe they're going in and saying, I own this energy company. I will pay you $200 million in your Swiss bank account. As of the governor of Texas, you shut down all competition and agree with the federal government. I mean, that's the type of stuff going on.
Yeah, that's not on their lobbyist schedule, is it? They don't have those kinds of things listed on their schedule of events. They've got a schedule of events, and of course, since there's no transparency, we don't know exactly what that is. As you mentioned before, even on the attendees list, the real people that we have to worry about are the ones that they don't mention, the people that they're grooming to be future presidents that just show up coming in the back door.
That's who we want. That's who we want. That's why we need more eyes, like kind of like a compound eye. We need thousands of people here with their own cameras, their own YouTube, and whoever gets, because they always think we're not there, like when Eric Holbrooke walked out, or the head of Google walked out, or all these cases. You don't know. You may be a prostitute in North London, and Bill Gates comes in. I'm not saying he goes to prostitutes, but the point is, he's got plenty of Microsoft groupies, I'm told. But the point is that you never know where the intel is going to be. I want to go over some of the agenda here, but Leanne McAdoo, before we go into the agenda, I want to keep you here for Stonehenge. Any other points you want to add about what's happened? What's the first thing to come to the top of your mind discussing Bilderberg?
Well, I thought it was kind of funny that the what was it, the G4S were guarding this room where it looked like they were setting up a dance party, and so that just gives me like a really I'm. Well,
they were building platforms, putting in lights.
Yes, like they're gonna have a disco dance party with Kissinger, and I mean, I want to be in there. I want my cameras. I got to see that. I need to see it.
I got a feeling it's for some special speakers. But, yeah.
Get down and.
What did you make of the head of security, like tears in his eyes?
He just was so, I couldn't tell if he was just so angry. I mean, he looked like he wanted to cry. And he was just like,
tears in his eyes.
He was like, Mr. Alex Jones. And you're like, that's me. I'm just getting some food.
That's right. You were there when he confronted me.
Yes. You just hear this diabolical voice. And, you know, tries to lead us out. And I said to him, you know, do you have any idea what's going on with those? And he said, ma'am, I'm you know, I try to remain non-political, and I'm just the manager here at the Grove. And I said, but you have no idea who you're.
But who are they to cancel our reservations 4 days before it started?
Exactly.
Who are they to have the security people shaking in fear of people? They know who we are. They know I have no criminal record. I mean, the worst thing they're going to get is I'm going to buy them dinner.
Exactly. And you're always, you know, so nice and treat them with like such respect. And he's going to be in for a huge shock when they treat him like dirt on the shoe.
Well, that's when the bonanza hits, because they are such jerks. Reportedly, none of them get tips.
Right. Oh, no. Yeah, that's, I work.
Because why would you give a scum anything?
Yeah.
It's all about dominating people.
Yeah, and that's the thing that is so frustrating, because they're really spinning this as the protesters and the press and all these people, that they're going to be committing all these criminal acts, and that everyone needs to be careful of the protesters, and closing off the roads and not letting anyone camp out. Originally, they were going to let people camp. Now
they're telling locals not to let us use their property.
Yeah.
A lot of farms in the area.
And trying to kind of scare the locals and spin and just kind of don't worry about why they're protesting or why there's this big uproar of these people meeting. It's just, you should feel lucky and you should feel special that the elite chose your town to come and have their...
Well, that's what the mayor said first. I'm just glad we're prestigious enough. But the good news is, Watson, reading her in the paper, you're saying that looks like she's starting to wake up.
Yeah, she's written a letter to David Cameron, Prime Minister of Britain, basically complaining about the security costs and demanding that the central government pay something towards those costs. So that's a big shift from what she said earlier, which was just demonising the protesters. But what's also interesting is that the Grove security said that they were non-political in their actions in turfing us out, because my complaint was that we were being discriminated against based on our political views.
And by the way, that's a British anti-EU law.
Yeah, it's illegal to do that.
Like Hitler first shut down hotels and stuff to Jews, like hotels were shut down to blacks. You shut people down where they can go for their views, their religion, their color. That's real tyranny.
Yeah, it's illegal under the Equality Act of 2010, and EU human rights law also affirms that it applies to political opinion, because people who've been sacked for supporting a political party have won cases. People who've been denied services in hotels based on that same law have won cases. So the fact they said, oh, we're non-political.
It's very humiliating to book something, you've done nothing wrong, and then you can't be there. You're treated like a criminal.
Yeah, and it's not like we were trying to access secure areas. We were in the garden.
Slimy lobbyists want to meet and engage in crime.
Exactly. Going on to the agenda, though, I noticed the top of the list is, can the US and Europe grow fast and create jobs? Which is pretty ironic given the fact that back in 2006, before it happened, Daniel Estulin predicted the housing collapse in America. Because
he had the source they were going to
the source, yeah.
That was the big banker that was over that big production house.
And that was in Canada in 2006, Bilderberg.
No, they own China. They're deindustrializing us on purpose. So everything they put in the agenda is the opposite of what they're actually doing.
Exactly.
We want to give you jobs. We're going to go over the trends right now. Okay, give us the trend you want to talk about.
Well, I'm just curious, I mean, touching on what you said about the way that they have the agenda. It's like, oh, look, it's just harmless. We're going to talk about jobs and entitlement. But the thing that's kind of worrying to me are the major trends in medical research. That's like, well, what do you have up your sleeve?
Well, let's use us as guinea pigs while they discover the fountain of youth that tested all on us.
Yeah. Look what our research with our GMOs have done to the humans.
David Knight, you want to say anything about this agenda?
Yeah, I think it's pretty amazing, just like we said before the break, that their stated purpose is public education. I mean, what a bigger lie could they come up with? I mean, here is the most secretive group you've ever seen. Absolutely. There's no oversight. There's no public information of this at all. And they call it a public education organization. And they also have it's a private charity registered in the UK that's paying for these expenses. And there's 3 people listed at the top of that charity. And the one guy, one of the 3 guys, is Marcus Agius. If I'm pronouncing his name correctly, it's A-G-I-U-S, former chair of Barclays who resigned over the LIBOR scandal. So these are the kind of guys, I mean, you want to talk about this being pure lobbying, pure exchange of political favors done in total secrecy, and yet they have the audacity to call themselves, to say that they're about public education.
Oh, yeah, this is an insider's who's who of elitist corruption. Watson?
The thing that, sticks out to me is they say they're concerned about all these issues, cyber warfare, when they're behind the cyber attacks. Stuxnet Flame, it's admitted, even the New York Times admits it, that the US and Israel were behind those attacks.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah, but Bilderberg's concerned about it. They're the ones behind it. Africa's situation, back in 2011, Sam Moritz, it was right before they turfed out Gaddafi. We got word that they were going to go ahead with the final assault on Tripoli. 3 months later, it happened down to a T when we predicted it. And look at Libya now.
That's a total destabilization program. State Department Memorandum 200 is how to destabilize Africa and other countries, but Africa's the model, how to cut off food, fund rebels, blow up governments. And they're doing that to America and the EU and Britain. The whole the whole European Union is just a system to take over and destroy the United Kingdom and other systems. It's economic warfare. They're on record with Kissinger. The illegal, we do it right now, immediately. The unconstitutional later. Watson?
Precisely. And I mean, yeah, look at Libya immediately after they turfed out Gaddafi. Now it's a complete hellhole. So they're concerned about all these issues when they're the culprits behind them.
Jeffrey Dahmer is concerned about dead bodies in his freezer.
Well, precisely. And some of the other trends are U.S. foreign policy. Again, cyber warfare, they're behind the cyber attacks. Online education, that's the Ministry of Truth for the Internet, which we talked about.
Propaganda on the web.
Yeah, which Bill Clinton called for. Developments in the Middle East, well, now they're obviously destabilizing.
Current affairs means how to spin scandals and divert it that there's no corruption going on. We're about to go to break here, ladies and gentlemen. Leanne McAdoo's here with me, Paul Watson. In the final segment, we're going to talk about our Stonehenge experiment today, which we didn't know would be an experiment, but it turned into one. Leanne McAdoo, any other points on this agenda?
No, sorry.
No, you're doing great. I mean, you had points you wanted to make earlier. Online education, promises and impacts, politics of the European Union. Everybody wants out of it. It's a giant crime syndicate. Developments in the Middle East. They're funding Al-Qaeda to take over. Current affairs, nationalism and populism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the most important. Nationalism and populism is people trying to use old government systems that have checks and balances. They're not perfect, to try to block these globalists taking over. They want to shut that down. Nationalism and populism. Humanity is the big enemy. We'll be right back. We're nationalists. All right, folks, Infowars Nightly News. We'll have more information tonight at 7 o'clock Central. All of it boiled down for you with Jakari Jackson, David Knight, Darren McBreen, and the rest of the amazing crew. I want to say this about Stonehenge. I figured that it was no big deal because I've been to Central America, Southern North America. I've seen big pyramids. I've seen Latin American standing stones, Mesoamerican. So we said, hey, it's an hour southwest of London. Beeline right from where we are, northwest. Let's drive down there. And I see it on the side of the highway. It kind of made it like modern, but the highway is like 50 yards away from it. I'm like, oh, that's nothing. And so we get out, we park. I'm not saying I can't wait to see this. We're talking about, yeah, let's work on that story. We got to meet with these sources tonight. Yeah. And we're walking up the path. Yeah, there's Stonehenge. And when I walk across this line, it's like, bzzz, I was like, whoa. I was like, do you guys feel that? So it's not like I was expecting something. And they're like, whoa, I feel it when they were describing it. And then we went back and came back across it again. And it's like a line. It's like, whoa, you go through it and it kind of feels like freaking you out like a roller coaster, like McAdoo said earlier. And then it's like drawing you into it. And the ancients thought enough of this site with all these hills around it, but it's up above them. It's very magic that they built this there and hauled hundreds of miles, giant stones to build this. And it shows how humankind was imagining something bigger. The human potential to build spacecraft and computers and helicopters and all of this would show the creativity of humans, that they would pick up on this magnetic line and just what the energy of the earth that fish use to navigate and birds use to navigate and whales use. This is a special place because there's hundreds of standing stones just in the UK alone, Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. But they're all over the world. And people talk about these. David Icke talks about being in Peru at some standing stones, and that all the stuff was like downloaded to him. He was like a major BBC presenter making £1 million a year, and he went off on this thing. The point is that this was mystical. There's no doubt. And I got to tell you, I'm going back while I'm here. I mean, amazing. And they'll let you touch it. You got to like sign up a month ahead, like 30 people in the morning, and at night can go right when it opens and closes and see it. McAdoo, at first I was calling him, I said, do you guys feel something? And you were all the same. Tell people briefly your take on this.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It was magnetic. When we were pulling up, I was like, oh gosh, it's going to be super touristy. And it was really awkward looking because there's these ancient stones on a perfectly manicured lawn, like right next to the highway. So it was just sort of like this cheesy sort of setup.
Yeah, we were like, oh, this is...
Yeah.
Walking up on, I was like hit by a thunderbolt.
Right. And then you just walk up and you walk across this line and for me, it felt like my stomach just sort of dipped like a roller coaster. It was like, and then once you kind of cross that threshold, it was just this really strong force that just pulled you toward it. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, no. Watson said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel pulled towards or against. And the tour guide, he was like a professor that goes out there, volunteers once a week. That's who they have each day, is a different professor. He was a professor of Celtic culture, or I guess Celtic culture. And he said, I don't have the gift. But he goes, actually, I'm surprised 3 of your 4 group have it. Not many people have it. He goes, it's some kind of magnetic thing. But he goes, I sit here. So he was waiting at that point. He goes, that's why I sit here, is to see who hits it. Because nobody tells you, there's no marker. Because you're walking, you're already by it, and you walk by a point, and you go, whoa. Watson, what was it like for you?
Well, people have come up to me today and said the same thing. When you hit this point, you get affected by this energy. And he was a science guy. He was saying, I'm a physics PhD.
Yeah, I don't believe in religious.
I don't believe in any of this stuff. But, you know, you're the 3rd person today to say exactly the same thing. When you hit this point, boom, the energy hits you. And I expected it to be a somber and oppressive kind of environment because of the druidic nature of it. But it was quite energetic and uplifting, actually, I found it. And
I felt crazy.
Yeah, I felt the same. I felt the power the same way you did. So I enjoyed it. I didn't expect to think much of it, but I enjoyed it.
Were you seething with power?
Literally, it's running through my veins right now.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I'm pretty crazy right now. I'm already, folks, let me tell you, I like Stonehenge a lot. I'm going to, anyways, McAdoo, any other points?
You were like, they must let me touch it. I need the power.
I'll tell them all the secrets.
Now we get it.
Anyways, but your wife didn't like it because she felt like she was being watched, right, David Knight?
I think she was just kind of, I think she felt something different, you know.
No, it's different. I've never felt anything like this.
She didn't say that she got any kind of a good feeling out of it. She didn't describe anything like you're talking about. She was just kind of freaked out about it. I think just kind of feeling the ancient druid sacrifice aspect of it. I think that's kind of what freaked her out.
Well, that's what they did, though. That was their answer to it.
Right.
I just got, like, electrified by it. Well, listen, more Bilderberg coverage and more Stonehenge coverage coming up tomorrow. Great job. Who's doing the nightly news tonight, David?
Jakari Jackson's doing the news tonight, and he's going to have some stories about more of this AP shakedown.
Cheers.
Yeah, working through the night. Got to get that up because you know what? This could be a big event. This could be very large. You've got David Icke going. You got Alex Jones there. People that are very well known in England. You've also got massive demonstrations going on just across the channel in Frankfurt. They're protesting the European Central Bank all this last weekend. They called it Blockupy. A lot of people there, thousands of people there. If very few of those could show up at the Bilderberg convention, you could have a massive crowd there, and probably will have, I would expect. There's going to be a lot of people there. So they're very concerned about that. They're busy putting up these construction projects, for those of you who couldn't see it. I mean, they're making some pretty heavy fortifications there to protect people. You know, when I look at this, I think about the power of even just one person, and Hong Kong is now marking the Tiananmen Square remembrance. It's the 24th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, and everybody remembers that iconic picture of the one person standing in front of the tank. Now, what you don't know in the West is that subsequently tanks did run over people there. They did shoot and kill a lot of people there. That part was not televised, but that was a wonderful, iconic moment when he stood in front of those tanks. And if you remember, the tank kind of made a movement to go to the left, then a movement to go to the right, and every time the tank would move, he would move in front of the tank. It's really a testimony to the power of ideas, to the power of people. And although the Chinese people haven't achieved their freedom from a ruling elite yet, they're still being used as slave labor in China. One of the ways that they do that, we went to China, I adopted my daughter from there. One of the ways they do that is to allow the Chinese people to have an increase in the standard of living. Now, certainly the people who are out in the countryside are still living in very abject poverty, and they're ruling them with an iron fist. I think it was Unwed Mothers. There was an article that it's something like 6 times their annual income. They get penalized if they have a child out of wedlock. Families that have more than one child are hit with severe economic penalty. There's a lot of poverty still in China, but they're so poor after Mao's policies, after he ground them into the dust, after he killed tens of millions of people, after the Great Famine, which he called the Great Leap Forward. David Rockefeller, talked about how this is the most important and successful revolution and social reform program in human history. David Rockefeller loved the Chinese oppression under Mao. That's what he would like to see happen everywhere. He wants to see population controlled. He wants to see people controlled. But there's a lot of power in what one person can do. But listen to this Chinese fellow who spoke earlier this year at a Massachusetts state gun rally talking about, he was at Tiananmen Square when it happened 24 years ago. And he was talking about people there as to why you don't want to give up your Second Amendment rights in this country. And here's what he had, a little bit of what he had to say.
This past Monday, I decided to visit the Lexington Green to pay my tribute to Captain John Parker. As I was walking on the green, I thought to myself, you know what? The founding fathers of the United States and Chairman Mao had one thing in common. They all thought guns are very important political instruments. However, their similarities ended there. Chairman Mao wrote in one time, he said, political power grew out of the barrel of a gun. And he also wrote, the party shall...
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, filling in for Alex, but Alex is going to be joining us very shortly with live reports from Bilderberg. He's going to be doing the last 2 hours live from England, just outside of London, Watford, UK. Whereas we've already talked about, we've got the hotel staff there is acting a bit like Faulty Towers, running Alex out of the restaurant even without allowing him to pay the bill. It's pretty amazing. And the conference hasn't even started yet. People don't even start arriving. Our Grand Lords do not start arriving until today. But even yesterday, we have to get the rabble like Alex Jones out of the way. And we were talking just before the break about how this is now the 24th anniversary of Tiananmen Square, that iconic picture of the guy standing in front of the column of tanks. And what we didn't talk about is the fact that still in Beijing, even though there are celebrations of it in Hong Kong, with a lot of people there attending a candlelight vigil because it is a very solemn occasion. A lot of people were killed by the military. Not everybody, we always see that picture of the guy standing in front of the tank, but a lot of people did die there. But in Beijing, police blocked the gate of a cemetery housing victims of the crackdown on a pro-democracy demonstrators as part of a sweeping annual effort to bar commemorations. You have to understand that China was used by Rockefeller and the New World Order. There is a massive transfer of wealth. We did a special report on this last night on the Nightly News. If you didn't see that, it's probably because you're not a Prison Planet member. You need to pay up and see this special content. But we talk about how Rockefeller and the elite desired to have a massive transfer of wealth from the United States, as we now see. That's happened in only about 3 decades. We see pretty much most of the manufacturing capacity of the United States. Much of our wealth has been transferred to China, and it's not from the American people to the Chinese people. It's from, even though he's shown the pictures of what they were doing. You can go to Wikipedia and look up Bohemian Grove, and it says Alex Jones, conspiracy theorist, and talks about his film of what they're doing. So even when you show up and you film what they're doing, you're still a conspiracy theorist. Well, he's actually a conspiracy fact. And, you know, when we show up to Bilderberg, it's to show people that, yes, there really is an elite world government that really is planning this stuff. And you can really see the effects of what they're doing. And we're going to take a look later on the show at the real world effects that come out of the plans that people like Kissinger and Rockefeller and the Bilderberg Group have created for Europe and for the rest of the world. Right now, in Europe, across Europe, there are riots and demonstrations. Even in Turkey, there are riots and demonstrations. People are demonstrating against the economic hardships, against oppressive governments, but especially in Europe, it's economically focused. And what they've seen are bankers. We've got some pictures here from Turkey. It's just amazing. If you've got this on video, you can see this. It's giant hordes of people. If you can imagine the Tea Party demonstrations originally in Washington, imagine that going violent. And here's a man yelling at him. He says, you know, enough is enough. We are humans too. This is an old man. He's yelling at the cops who are in all of their armor and body armor and have their shields and everything. It really is like looking at these aerial photographs they have of these riots in Turkey. It's very much like looking at an aerial shot of the Roman Empire fighting the masses, the way they group together in a phalanx and have helmets and shields. Of course, the Romans didn't have guns and tear gas to shoot at the crowds, rubber bullets like they're shooting right now. But it's amazing to look at this and to think about the fact that, you know, it didn't work out too well for the Roman Empire in the long run. They were eventually taken down by the crowds, and eventually they were taken down because people were just fed up with the corruption. It wasn't so much that they fell from the outside. It's pretty effective to fight people who are unarmed when you've got all the arms, when you've got well-trained soldiers who are in helmets and have shields. It usually goes your way. But it doesn't go your way when people get sick and tired of the oppression and the corruption. And that's what's happening right here in Turkey. It's happening all over Europe. You've got the central bankers imposing their rule over democratically elected parliaments and throwing out the democratically elected people there. And people are getting sick and tired of that. Now, in more recent history, even after mainstream media started covering this, and we've got an article here from the International Business Times where they talked to Charlie Skelton. He's a reporter for The Guardian, and he says the first time that he covered Bilderberg was back in 2009, a conference in Athens. And listen to what he says. He says it was a baptism of fire. He said he was chased around Athens by the Greek secret police. That's right. They don't like you being there. They're very much, it's amazing to see that every time these guys go to a conference, they go to the most expensive castle-like hotel and buy out these fantastically expensive places that cost thousands of dollars a night to stay there. And giant conference rooms, they buy out the entire place, just like they did in Kiowa, South Carolina, just before Bilderberg. Bill Gates went down there with his eugenics conference, and a bunch of politicians, some celebrities like Oprah Winfrey, bought out the entire complex just so they can keep people away. That's how much they hate the public, and that's how much they hate publicity. The darkness hides from the light. Well, we've got an update from Bilderberg and showing Alex being chased out by security even before the elite arrived there. But let's go real quickly to Charlie Skelton was talking to Max Kaiser, because Max Kaiser's in London. And let's listen to what Max Kaiser says about Alex Jones arriving.
In London. You know, this is fantastic because Alex, aside from being a great journalist and exposer of lots of bad things, he is uniquely Texan.
He's uniquely Texan. Well, we have to get him on Kaiser Report.
Absolutely.
Will Kaiser Report be coming to Watford?
Oh, yeah.
We should do one from Watford, camped outside.
Let's go.
It's not every year they come to Watford, is it? I mean,
Can you, actually, Charlie, for our American audience, can you explain what the heck Watford is?
what it is?
Watford is the thing you drive through in order to get out of Watford, basically. Now, that's a terrible thing. I'm saying a terrible thing about Watford. I don't even really know Watford. Watford is just an area of northwest London, just off the M25, just south of that. So and the place where the hotel is beautiful.
That's Charlie
Skelton.
Skelton.
Sort of town like where David Brent worked at the office?
Yeah, I think you're in the right. Yeah.
Slough potential.
Yeah. It's on a path.
It's on a roundabout somewhere.
It used to be what Londoners would define as the point between south of England and the north of England, and the rest of England, basically. It was anything north of Watford wasn't really considered, you know, just considered full stop if you were from London.
It's the edge, basically.
It was the edge, it was the wall.
The world stops at Watford.
It was exactly that, yes.
Okay, well, that's our little teaser for tonight.
There you go. Max Kaiser talking about Alex Jones's arrival, saying the Texas Twister has touched down in London. That's a pretty good way to put it. They don't want Alex anywhere close to the elite there because he's not afraid of them. He's not afraid to call them out for what they are. And as a result, they, like I said, they canceled his reservation. Just before they left, they found out it was
It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal.
Welcome to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex. He is live in London, in Watford, England, just north of London, covering the Bilderberg conference that's starting today. Now, Alex and staff traveled there in the last couple of days, and we've got some updates from Alex about things that have been happening. It's been pretty eventful so far, for at least for Alex. Even before the elite masters arrive, he's had their minions on him like a cheap suit, even though this is supposedly one of the best hotels in the world. They're kind of acting like it's faulty towers. They canceled his reservations at the last minute with no explanation, in violation of law, in violation of discrimination law against political beliefs. And then they go there to eat yesterday before the conferences started today, and he was thrown out by security. They wouldn't even let him pay his bill for what he'd had so far. So we've got some video updates of that. Alex is going to be here live later on during the show. It's going to be very interesting. And there is a lot of news about Bilderberg. Michael Savage talked about it on his show. And we've got all of this information at Infowars.com/B, as in Bilderberg. You can follow all the information there as it's breaking, not just what we're covering, but what other people are saying about it as well. Now, before we start, I've got a news item here that was just given to me at the last minute from Chris Jordan. And it's going to be our trivia question of the day here. We've got the article as a deadline looms for a suspect to decrypt his laptop or go directly to jail. Now, this is coming out of Milwaukee. And we've got a judge that is ordering this fellow to decrypt the only existing copies of incriminating files. Now, are you required to do that? Think about that for just a second. Listen. Okay, your time is up. Do your rights really change based on the technology, based on circumstances? Does that negate the fact that you've got Fourth Amendment rights because you're not writing on paper, but you're writing on a computer? I don't think so. Let's look at what the Fourth Amendment says. It says that you're to be secure in your person, houses, papers, and effects. It's pretty comprehensive, don't you think? I mean, there's not really any room for wiggle, although we look at how our government is violating that in every aspect. In your person, have you traveled lately? Have you flown lately? Of course, it's going to be all kinds of travel because it's the Transportation Security Agency. It's not just the Airport Security Agency. They don't believe you have a right to be secure in your person. They deny your Fourth Amendment rights every day to everybody that's traveling. How about your houses? Look at what just happened in the Boston Marathon bombing, where they're breaking into people's houses without search warrants, demanding that they come in, pointing guns at people, pulling them out at gunpoint. What about your computers like this? Should you have to self-incriminate yourself? Well, obviously the IRS has operated for decades on the principle of self-incrimination. That's what your income tax form basically is. You sign this piece of paper saying that everything that I have just told you about myself in detail is true, and if you find anything in there that is not true, you can send me to jail. That's one of the problems that a lot of people have with complying with the IRS system. And we've got some information about the IRS system. Ted Cruz is calling to get rid of the income tax, and I'm all for that. I remember 20 years ago in the Libertarian Party, we were calling for the abolition of the income tax and the IRS, and people said we were crazy. But things change, don't they? And hopefully for the better. Maybe with all of these scandals, maybe we've gone so far that people are ready to hear the truth about the IRS, the truth about self-incrimination, the truth about our corrupt tax system, where the largest corporations, those who are going to Bilderberg, don't pay any taxes, but you, the little people, pay them all, and just enough to keep the interest payments going to our central bank. We'll be right back with more information about Bilderberg, live updates from Alex Jones. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, and as I said before the break, we're going to be having information from Alex Jones. He's going to be joining us later in the show. He'll be doing most of the show, as a matter of fact, live from London. But we have Alex on site now. He's there with Leanne McAdoo and with Richard Reeves. Paul Joseph Watson, of course, is there, as he lives in the area. And they're going to be covering things. They've had some interesting encounters already at the Grove Hotel. But it's interesting to go back and look at the history of Bilderberg, to think about the fact that for decades, they denied that this existed. Just kind of like Bohemian Grove, you know, when Alex showed up and took a video of what was going on at Bohemian Grove and exposed what these crazy people we call leaders were doing at Bohemian Grove. It's just amazing. And yet, to this day, canceled. And when he went there yesterday, now remember that the elite masters have not yet arrived at their designated places. They threw him out, even though they were eating in the restaurant. And we got a video of that. Let's cut to that right now. This is Alex walking down the hallway. He's holding a cell phone.
Just say on tape you're kicking me out and not letting me pay for dinner. Oh, we're going to have to stay until the cops get here then.
That's fine. We are asking you to leave, okay?
No, but I'm not going to let you kick me out of a restaurant and fall false charges of stealing.
You know that's not going to happen.
Well, then say that I try.
We as a hotel are asking you to leave, sir.
But we are leaving. I'm trying to pay for dinner. And you're saying leave without paying, right?
Well, it doesn't matter. I got it on tape, so. Yeah.
Where's Richard?
Yeah, what have you guys done with Richard?
So, wish you a good night, sir. Your vehicle's up there.
Hey, Greg, how you doing?
Okay.
Listen,
Thank you,
seriously,
Alex.
we just came by to get some video and stuff and eat dinner, man. It's not a big conspiracy.
We're not a threat to anyone.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
just
where's
trying to get
Richard?
some
Where's
pictures.
Richard?
Richard's up at the van.
And by the way, I'm more than happy to pay my bill.
Okay, we're going to be asking you to leave now, okay? Okay.
Okay, so you're not going to let me pay my bill?
Good night now.
All right.
I'm still waiting for the confirmation. The
Mr. Watson, I'm
cancellation.
asking you to leave,
We're
okay? It's
leaving,
our
don't worry.
choice that you're leaving, please. Please walk away.
It's just weird that you won't say that.
Okay.
I mean, you won't even let us finish, and then you won't say you're kicking. You know, just all right. You got it on tape.
So there you go. There's Basil Fawlty working security at the Grove Hotel, throwing Alex out. I don't know what he did to offend them, but just like Fawlty Towers, he's sitting there eating, and they tell him that he's got to leave. And he's kind of worried that it might be a setup, that they're going to come after him for not paying his bill. So he wants to get it on tape that they're actually throwing him out and not letting him pay for the bill. But, of course, Basil won't really confirm that that's what's happening. He just keeps saying, you've got to leave, you've got to leave. So there you go. That's the kind of world we can look forward to if we let the elite run everything. The kind of world where they can just order you about and tell you that you can't be here. You have to go, and no explanation, and won't make anything clear. That's the kind of stonewalling that we've seen from them as far as reservation cancellation goes as well. Now, Michael Savage has weighed in on this, and I think he had a really good summary, short summary of Bilderberg for his audience. Let's listen to that tape.
The Bilderberg meeting is going on from June 6th through June 9th, 2013 in England. There will be 140 participants in 21 European and North American countries. And you're going to say, well, so what's wrong with that? Now, there's a lot of right-wing hysteria about the Bilderberg meetings. I don't know what it's about. I have a suspicion why they're afraid of the Bilderberg meeting. I guess because it sounds kind of Jewish. They assume that it's a secret Jewish meeting where there's a secret handshake. But if you actually look at the Bilderberg, the list of the Bilderbergs, you see its leaders in basically business and academia. Now, I don't like most of the philosophy of those from academia. They're all leftists. But you'll also notice there are no Russians on the list and no Chinese. Now, this is why China has the strongest economy in the world. Why are they not at the Bilderberg meeting? Now, founded in 1954, what is the Bilderberg meeting? Most of you never heard it. Most of you don't even know what the Bilderberg is, but to the right wing, the word Bilderberg itself provokes the desire to go out and buy hollow point ammunition. It was founded in 1954. It's a conference designed to foster dialogue between Europe and North America, meaning it's the New World Order, meaning it's a dialogue between business leaders and others in Europe and North America to build ties. That's how it started. Unfortunately, it's moved towards...
That's right. That's right. That's how it started, but that's not how it's ending. As he goes on, he talks about, it's a short clip, but we're running up to a break here. He talks about how it's now being used to control Congress. Yeah, that was the design all along. Even at their second meeting, and that we now have their minutes, they were talking about the EU and the European Union, and we see how that's playing out. We'll be right back after the commercial break. We're going to be joining Alex in London shortly. Stay tuned. All right, we're back with the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight filling in for Alex. He's going to be joining us in just a little bit. But we do have reports that are being filed from Alex. He was on site yesterday. The meeting starts today as far as people arriving. And yesterday they were making preparations. As these people are coming in, they need to have their fences up because they don't want you to get close to them. They don't want any information to get out about what they're doing, but they don't even want you anywhere around them. That's why they buy out these entire luxury hotel complexes and then use the security and the police forces from the nearby towns to chase people away at the taxpayers' expense. You know, that's what the police are there for, right? To protect the elite from you. Well, we got Alex taking a look at their barrier of steel. He calls it the Bilderberg Ring of Steel. Let's take a look at what he found yesterday.
What are you guys building? Looks like an art project or something.
I'm just going to get a photo here. So what are you guys putting together?
Just a fence.
Yeah, I saw the steel grating down there. You guys are working late into the night, huh?
It's all night.
Oh, really? All night? Wow. Well, I'll leave you alone so you can get it done. Have a good one. You guys have a good one.
The Americans to a few ruling elite. The Chinese are not out of the woods yet. They are still under the oppression of Mao-like rulers in China. I've seen it. I've been there. The people who are getting a better standard of living, who've moved out of the countryside, they see their standard of living go up. It pacifies the population somewhat, but they are working under what everybody else would consider to be slave conditions. They still have a working slave population that is serving the multinational corporations. These same leaders, these multinational corporations that are going to Bilderberg. An article on Infowars.com says, congressional report proves that taxpayers are subsidizing Walmart employees. A congressional report released Thursday confirms what many Americans have suspected all along. Taxpayers are subsidizing Walmart's workforce. The running joke that says, for every dollar you save at Walmart, you spend $2 more in taxes isn't far off the mark. And it says further down, they estimate that a single 300-person Walmart supercenter store in Wisconsin likely cost taxpayers at least $904,542 per year. Per year. And if you add in the fact that many Walmart employees who receive Medicaid benefits also benefit from other taxpayer-funded programs such as food stamps, WIC, and other federal aid because they don't pay them much, the total cost to taxpayers is more like $1.7 million a year, about $5,800 per Walmart employee, and that's just for a single store. You see, the whole point of most of what the government does is to transfer wealth, and it's not between different classes as much as we are led to believe by this false left-right paradigm. The primary transfer of wealth is from people to a few ruling elite. We can see that more clearly every day as we see what's going on. Look at this article from the London Guardian about Amazon and Google chiefs joining other corporate tax avoiders at the Bilderberg confab. Now, out of the 140 participants, you've got a lot of the largest companies like Amazon.com, Google. They don't pay any taxes. I don't know about Amazon, but I know Google hasn't paid any taxes. Apple pays virtually nothing. There's a big scandal going on in the UK about that. The whole point of the tax code is to transfer wealth to the government so they can redistribute it in large amounts to companies like Walmart or to Google or to other insiders who are giving a nice tithe of that to the politicians who transfer the massive amounts of money to them. And I think it's about time people have had enough of this, enough of the IRS, enough of this corrupt system. And when we see the IRS being used as a weapon, that's gotten everybody's attention. What they haven't seen is this massive redistribution of wealth. And what they haven't paid attention to is the fact that going back as far as the Reagan administration, first thing he did when he got in was he created the Grace Commission. He had one of the top accounting firms go in and take a look at where the money was coming from and where the money was going. And what he found out was that all of the money that we pay in income tax just went to service the debt. In other words, to the Federal Reserve, to the private central bank. The Federal Reserve was created at the same time the income tax was, and what we've been on is a 100-year interest-only balloon note. And they're using that balloon note. They're calling it due now across Europe, and they're going to do it here in America. They're going to say, time's up. Your balloon note is overdue. We're repossessing your country. That's what they do when they take out democratically elected people and put in Goldman Sachs bankers in their place, as they've done in Italy and Greece and other places. That's what Nigel Farage of the UK Independence Party called them on in the European Parliament. And so it's about time that somebody starts talking about getting rid of this corrupt system. We always said, when we talked about it in the Libertarian Party, that it's not about revenue, it's about controlling you. That's what the income tax is there for. And it's there to send money to the banks. They don't care as long as they get their interest payment each time. They're going to keep compounding that. They're going to encourage you privately to go into debt. If you're a college student, you're going to get those credit card offers. They're also going to do the same thing with each and every country because they want every country indebted to them. And when they screw up, when their massive derivative schemes fail, they have the government assume those debts and then turn around and say, well, government, you're now insolvent, so you've got to turn over real assets to us. It's amazing. They use their failures to take over the sovereignty of countries. People are starting to wake up, though, because of the political nature of the persecution that the IRS is being used for. And understand, this is nothing that's new from Obama. This is something that has gone on since the time of FDR. We've got documented cases of virtually every president using the IRS as a weapon against their political enemies. It's just that Obama has done it more openly, more pervasively, more unashamedly than any other president has ever done. Used to be when you'd get caught doing this, like Nixon did, you would get impeached, you'd get thrown out. But nothing happens to Obama no matter what he does. Talk about a Teflon president, that's the guy. But people are starting to wake up. Here's what Ted Cruz had to say about abolishing the income tax.
Joining me now in the hot seat, my old friend, Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thank you for joining us. We go way back to the old days, the Texas Solicitor General days, if I'm not mistaken. Senator, you're leading the charge to abolish the IRS. I think that's a fantastic idea. Tell us your plan.
Well, look, we have seen in recent weeks that the IRS has not honored its trust with the American people, that the Obama administration has demonstrated a